Damn.
Thank you, Manager Logan. That's why you're our manager. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? How's everybody doing here today? I was too focused on shutting the music off. I forgot to shut myself on. So I apologize. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for joining us for another edition of NHP and for the final edition of NHP for the for the year of 2025, man. So, and I guess the last one for the month of December. But the last one for the year of 2025. Man, it's crazy that we're finally here. It's crazy that we're finally here, man. We finally made it to the last episode of Notorious Heels for the year, bro. It is very crazy. It's been a great year for NHP, and I expect 2026 to have more growth upon what was 2025, man. So I'm very excited for that. Very excited for that. And yeah, it is crazy that we're finally here. But if this is your first time watching, guys, do not know how the show works. Every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central, we are on here with Unscripted. Every Friday at 3 p.m. Central, we are on here with the news. And for the pay-per-views for both WWE and AEW, we are live directly after the show goes off the air with the official post-show review. And with that, like I'm saying, there is no pay-per-view or PLE for the month of January up until the last day. So in terms of shows we will be reviewing, man, we got nothing until the Royal Rumble. However, with just some stuff that we got coming up. Some of it you know about, some of it you don't yet. Your boys will definitely keep themselves busy for the month of January, man. So, yeah, it is the 30th, man. We are one day away from the last day of 2025, bro. Very crazy that we're finally here, man. We're finally here. So, yeah. With that being said, if you guys did miss this past Saturday's edition of the World's End Review and Friday's edition of the news, you guys can now find that on all platforms, that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and if you want to see it first, join us right here live every single pay-per-view for both WWE and AEW, and Friday for the news, man. Also, if you guys have not got a chance to get your hands on some of the official NHP merchandise, you guys can now find this live on the merch shop. That is bonfire.com. Link is at the top description of this very video, man, where you can find this beautiful piece of Notorious Heels merchandise live on there as we speak. Again, that is bonfire.com. Link is at the top description of this very video, man. And with that being said, if this is your first time watching and you guys do not know who we are here at Notorious Heels, I am Johnny, one half of the host of this very show. And as for the other half, we got my man Sir K here. Sir K, go ahead, please let the people know. Please let the people know what it is you're smiling about today.
Valid, because I love this episode, man. The rewind and predictions, I love it. I'm very excited to get on here to talk about, the year of wrestling and the year we're gonna get, or what we think we're gonna get next year, man. Always very, very exciting, man. And going into the new year, man. So excited for that. And excited to see what 2026 brings for NHP. I think, last 2 years were very good, and I think it's only going to get better in 2026. So very excited for that. And other than that, just been chilling out, man. Don't got a pay-per-view until Royal Rumble, but we still got a bunch way more fun stuff than your average pay-per-view coming up for you guys, man. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yes, there are the obvious things I'm excited for. A couple things you guys don't know about yet. One of them you're about to find out about right now. But the other one, we'll keep that one in the vault for just a little bit longer.
Exactly. We have one to keep in the vault, but to tell you guys something right now, for this week, on the 1st, on Thursday, man, at 1 o'clock,
Well, actually,
we can make it really any time, so
2 p.m. Central. Let's go with 2.
2 p.m. Central. Let's leave it a little bit. 2 p.m. Central.
Things just changed, guys. We're not unorganized. This is literally a brand new thing. So
this is the due date kind of opened up for us, so we went with it. But on Thursday at 2 p.m., we will be doing finally the NHG 2K stream. I forgot which 2K this 25.
25.
Right?
25.
25. 2K25 WWE 2K25 stream. Very excited to play the game for you guys, get the first reaction with you guys there, and just hang out with Notorious Heels Gaming again, man. It's been a little bit, been kind of busy, so sorry for the kind of delay on this one, but it's finally happening this week on the 1st. I'm excited, man.
I'm very excited, man. You know, Mr. NHG here. He's there's a lot to say about him. There's a lot to say about him, but no, man, I'm excited to come on here with the I shouldn't needlessly give you a stray there. There's a lot to be excited about, man. There's a lot to be excited about. I haven't touched a wrestling game since we played 24 for free. I'm excited to hop on here with you guys, man. Excited to get back on the gaming grind. Like Sir K mentioned, there has been a little bit of a delay. So I take accountability in that as well. I'll also throw half of the accountability at Christmas. It was just a very busy time in life. So I do apologize for the delay, like Sir K said, man, but excited to hop on here for the gaming streams with you guys, man. Always a blast. Just getting on here and shooting the shit and playing a video game, man. So the first January 1st, Thursday, 2 p.m. Central, we will be live. Your boys will be live on here for the gaming stream, man. So very excited for that. But yeah, man, that is that. Very excited for that. Also, real quick, well, of course, as Durante always asks, I'm good. Family's good. What about you, Durante, Logan, Bell? We have, I don't know if he's still here, but he was here. We have the one and only, the owner of GDR Finances LLC in the house. We have Mr. Walk him down and cut these shiz off. Mr. Walk him down and run that marathon. Mr. Walk him down and cook that shit up. Mr. Walk him down and climb that tree. Mr. Walk him down and feed them families. We have my brother, Gotti Devon, in the house. How are you guys doing? As always, and thank you guys so very much for joining us for the last edition of NHP Unscripted for the year. Happy New Year's Eve to you guys, man. Please be safe. Please be safe, because there will be a gaming stream the next morning, so you're not going to want to miss that. So you're going to want to be safe on New Year's Eve. Please be safe. If you're drinking, do not fucking drive. And be safe, man. Be safe. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy going into the new year, man. And yes, again, I please reiterate, please be safe. So, with that being said, as you guys can see in the top right corner of your screen, man, we have, again, just in case you guys are not aware, the Notorious Heels Podcast 2025 year-end awards will be coming up, and it all gets started off, actually, this upcoming Saturday with the preview show, man. The preview show will be live January 3rd at 3 p.m. Central, which actually, you guys are getting us for a 3 days in a row. We will have, now that I think about it, we will have Notorious Heels Gaming, and we will have the news. Then we will end the 3-day off with the preview show Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, 3 p.m. Central. If you guys are wondering, what exactly is a preview show? Well, as you can see on your screen, we will be revealing the nominees for all 11 categories that we will be voting on, and then open voting for you all begins that day as well. So again, we're going to do the same thing we did last year, where at the end of the episode, I'm going to post the link, and then me and Sir K will post the link endlessly for the next week, where you guys are able to get on your phone or whatever, click the links, and vote for yourself on who you think is the winner of each category we will be going over at the end of the week, which will be January 10th, the day of the year-end awards themselves. We will be obviously revealing the winner of the fan vote. So I talked about the categories that we will be revealing, and here are your categories that we will be revealing for the 2025 Notorious Heels year-end awards, as we have Men's Superstar, Women's Superstar, Tag Team, Faction, Show, Moment, Match, Return / Debut, Letdown, and Worst Booking Decision. And the final award is the Your Time Is Now award. This is a category we did name after the GOAT, and will be the name for it going forward. The Your Time Is Now award, basically what this award is it is who we think is going to take the world title leap in 2026. We have two, I guess, stipulations for this award. All 8 nominees must have not won a world championship in their company yet, and they must be under 30. So this is a award for the next generation, the generation that will lead us into the next 10 years or whatever of said company. So that is the award, and these are the 11 categories we will be discussing. These are the 11 categories we will be previewing for you guys on Saturday, and these are the 11 categories that we will be revealing winners for on the date of the year-end awards, man. So yeah, that is those are your categories, man. As like I said, January 10th, 2026, 3 p.m. Central, we will be live with the annual Notorious Heels 2000 and whatever year-end awards, man. So yes, but January 10th, 2026, we will be bringing you guys the 2025 edition of the award, man. So yeah, that is all we got for the year-end plugs. As like I said, man, as you can see in the corner of your screen, man, Saturday, January 3rd, 3 p.m. Central, your boys will be on here with the year-end award preview show, man. So very excited for that. All right.
Let's get into it, man.
So let's hit you with the hard-hitting question. It's okay. You want to start? Well, first, you want to start with AEW or WWE for their rewind?
Start with AEW.
All right. Well, overall, what'd you think of the year, man? Was it an overall thumbs up for you? Overall thumbs down?
If I had to do a thumbs up or thumbs down overall, I'll give it a solid 2 o'clock, maybe 1:30, 1 o'clock thumbs up. Overall, it wasn't bad. It was a lot better than I expected it to be, and it was very steady. And that's something I'm going to get into in the predictions when we get to them for
Okay.
AEW. But overall, this year was very steady. You overall knew what you were going to get going into most shows. If it was weekly television, you knew it was going to be pretty meaningless. if it was a pay-per-view, you knew it was going to be pretty solid. There was the steady people you trusted all throughout the year for their stories, whether it was Swerve and Hangman, whether it was the whole Death Rider stuff, whether it's a good Will Ospreay match. You usually, with this year, all throughout the year, you knew what was going to be good and you usually knew what was going to be bad, and it was pretty steady. Wasn't perfect, but overall, I'll give it a thumbs up, man. But what about you?
I am actually sitting in the same boat you are. I am gonna go ahead and give it, if you were to start the thumb here, I wouldn't give it a thumbs up completely. I would maybe give it
No.
a slight
Yeah.
thumbs up. So, and the only reason they get the slight thumbs up is because I feel from the second half of the year, and literally the second half of the year, like at about June, July-ish, they really kind of started to tilt the thumbs up because they were kind of all the way down in the beginning half of 2025 in my, maybe not all the way. So in the beginning of 2025, AEW had a huge problem with, what do you know, not making fucking sense. They did. They started the year off and nothing happened until uh that whole Grand Slam Australia ring debacle thing. That was a huge piece of controversy for AEW throughout the year. And it seemed like it kept getting worse going into Revolution. We had the whole Death Riders and Copeland story, which was fucking horrible. And then I know you said there was a lot of things that, you know, we knew or we could expect were going to be bad. But in my opinion, I never, ever could have walked into anything that was as mind-boggling as AEW Dynasty.
Is the exception of the year.
That show, genuinely, I don't know a soul that predicted that show to be as bad as it was. It was absolutely horrible, man. But the year started off very rocky for AEW, and maybe I should give them a little more credit, and instead of saying June, maybe like the end of May. I feel like Double or Nothing for me is where things started to pick up a lot for them. Double or Nothing was a great show. And I did enjoy Double or Nothing a lot. For what it's worth, but yeah. And then the later half of the year for me, I felt wasn't perfect. It obviously wasn't where I know AEW could be. And most of the reason to blame for that is their weekly television. Their weekly television has struggled to pick up. And that's going to be a fucking theme in this video because we're talking about WWE and AEW. Their weekly television has largely struggled to pick up. However, in terms of pay-per-views, the thing that did save them is that pay-per-views. I think Tony Khan went on a run that was one of the best back-to-back runs in company history for just outstanding pay-per-views. When you talk about Double or Nothing, that right into All In, I thought was tremendous. That right into Forbidden Door was great. Things were good for All Out, but they did cool down for All Out. You know, All Out wasn't a great show, or All Out was a good show, not a great show, I would say. There was a weak little run at the end of the year with the Wrestle Dream into Full Gear, and then I thought, honestly, things for Forbidden, World's End, really did kind of pick themselves back up. So overall, also, this year for AEW, definitely, they definitely managed to keep themselves in controversy, for most of the time. But we'll get to that in just a second. But overall, you know, I will say a little bit of a thumbs up year for AEW because I really, you can really blame their constant good pay-per-views for that. And I mentioned how the beginning of the year was really rough for them, but I do have to go back and mention a true diamond in the rough that was AEW Revolution. AEW Revolution from the Crypto.com
Flames.
arena in LA was absolutely a banger fucking show. It was absolutely a banger ass show. So I gotta give props to AEW where props are deserved. Because AEW Revolution was very good. In a part of the year that was just absolutely filled with nonsense. Absolute nonsense. But yes, AEW in January, AEW announced their simulcast. What was that saying they called it? Oh, the mother of all simulcasts.
Of all simulcast. Good lord.
I know that is a Tony Khan fed line, but he picked no other perfect person to deliver that than fucking Excalibur. That was tremendous. That was absolutely amazing.
It really was. And
Absolutely amazing.
there's nothing better than a Tony Khan name being said by one of his horrible commentators. It's the perfect combination because the man just comes up with the cringiest names and sayings for shit. And then he has these cornballs say it, and it just makes it even better every time.
It really is the best. It really is the best, man. Kenny Omega returned to television in January for AEW. That was a huge thing that ended up by the end of the year turning into a huge disaster because this guy is pale as fuck and he looks so hurt every time he goes out there. I genuinely want to shed a tear for Kenny Omega every time I see this man step out from the curtain. Please get this man a leave of absence. Get this man and get this man some ice, please.
No, for real. It looks like I'm looking at my father after work when I was a kid. You know, just fucking waddling around like, dude, just go lay down, bro. Just go lay down. Why are you here? Like Kenny, that was the first return, and then they kind of just made that a fucking Roman Reigns-esque thing all year. Dude just returns every 2 weeks. But yeah, man, it very, very unfortunate year for Kenny, and I have a theory going into 2026, man, but it sucks that,
Okay.
Kenny returned to what he returned to in the state he did, man, and it's just unfortunate to see people like that.
Absolutely. Bringing us into February, AEW presented Grand Slam from Australia, which was, like I just mentioned, when I was giving my brief overall review, they definitely managed to keep themselves in controversy throughout the year. This being one of those things. They showed up to Australia, had to move to like 3 different fucking venues. Everybody that was attending the show was pissed. And then we get to the show, they fucking borrowed a ring from an indie company, which was not a 20 by 20 ring. It was like a 16 by 16 ring, and it was just an absolute disaster. AEW thought they were doing themselves a favor by saying, no, we borrowed the ring and, we're grateful and we want to thank our friends from whatever indie company it was for borrowing us the ring. They borrowed us a 16 by 16 ring. That just looks horrible. The company can't even fucking keep the same ring size. They keep this unprofessional, tiny looking little fucking ring. There's that. And, again, they expose themselves tremendously with the whole part of, we borrowed the ring from an indie company. Again, they thought they were doing themselves a favor, and they weren't. They were doing themselves a disservice by
Shipping letting
the world know that they are, with all the money Tony Khan has, too cheap to send a fucking ring to Australia. They had to borrow one from a local fucking rinky-dink Australia Indie. Nice.
Very, very unfortunate, man. That was a whole mess. The show itself wasn't, yeah, from what I remember, man, it wasn't even that good, from what I remember, and they had to move venues for ticket sales. They moved venues across the fucking country. People were pissed, and then, and then they proceeded to put on a lame ass show in a tiny ring. That was probably their overall biggest and most deserved disaster of the year, I would say.
Yes, sir. We got my guy Delgado in the chat. How are you doing,
You know,
brother? Thank you for joining us. He says he went to AEW World's End in Chicago, the Now Arena. What'd you think? In my opinion, that is our worst arena we have to offer. In,
that is
in, in my humble opinion. So what did I really want to know what you thought of the arena? Unless they really made some major fucking upgrades to the arena, I'm pretty sure it's still a shithole. But what'd you think of the show, man? Personally, I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a great way for AEW to end the year. It was a fun show. I liked it.
it was it was a really fun show. I love to see too. I love the whole Death Rider stuff they had going in there, and the main event was really cool, man. So, what'd you think about the show? I liked it.
Um, After that brings us into Revolution. That brings us into Revolution, man. And AEW, in terms of television and controversy, other than Revolution, really did nothing in the month of March. Again, aside from Revolution and how great of a show that was, Fletcher Osprey, Hollywood ending, all that good stuff. It really
Basically, it.
they did nothing. Yeah, they did absolutely nothing. April was the month of Dynasty. No much more needs to be fucking said on that. They Dynasty was Dynasty, and that was that. So it was AEW's worst show. Again, I want to remind you guys that this conversation totally excludes Kenny Omega, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Ricochet, because they fucking saved what was an absolute shitter of a show. It was horrible. So aside from that, aside from those three guys, the month was horrible. The build to Dynasty was horrible. It's a common theme in AEW. Most of these builds suck. Even though the pay-per-view is great, the build sucks. So yeah, that was AEW. That was AEW for the month of April, man.
Yeah, April was one of those shitter months. I mean, Dynasty was the worst thing they put out all year. They had that one good match, like you said. Other than that, Dynasty sucks, man. Young Bucks came back, allied with the Death Riders for no fucking reason, and it was just a whole mess of storytelling. This and the Cope stuff. This back to back after the Cope stuff with the Death Riders was like peak horrible Death Riders before it got good.
Yes. June, AEW announced yet again another championship in the Unified Championship, which we ended up coming to find out in December that wasn't even a championship to begin with. It was literally a belt for the winner of Kenny Okada. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful fucking vision there, Tony. Wonderful.
Exactly. They created a title. They have they're telling the dirt cheats that this thing is going to be the next world title alongside the AEW world title. And come to find out, it's literally just so Okada doesn't have to hold two belts. It's just a representative of Okada's two belts that if he loses one of them, the thing is gone. So, makes no sense, man. Also, that's kind of the whole point of putting two belts on someone is for the visual of the two belts.
Yeah.
So don't get that. But overall, they unveiled that shit, and then at the end of the year, we learned it was fucking pointless the whole time. Thank you. Thank you.
Ridiculous. We get on a very lackluster all-in build for AEW. They did they did run their first televised event in Mexico though. In CMLL's arena, they ran Grand Slam Mexico. So that was fun. That was fun. I remember that was the show where we seen Adam Page recite a promo in Spanish, so that was really cool. Um, I mentioned AEW always keeps himself in controversy. This was the month where AEW got sued for Jon Moxley muffing a fucking cameraman from a match 2 years ago in his steel cage match with Kenny Omega. So, again, what do you know? They always manage to keep themselves in controversy.
They really do, man. Some are stupid, but you have ones like this where you just had Mox just muffing what ended up being a fill-in third-party cameraman, not even affiliated with the company technically, muffing him to the ground and injuring him. So great, great going.
The month of July saw AEW bring upon one of my favorite shows that AEW's ever done. All in Texas. All in Texas was a load of fun. It was fucking long, but it was a load of fun. It mattered where it needed to most. This is the representation of All In that I always wanted to see. A hot crowd, a crowd that wanted to be there, a crowd that again wanted to be there, man, and support AEW, and they showed up and they really gave their best, man, and that's all you can ask for out of an audience. And I thought All in Texas again, although it was long, it was 6 hours, but it was a boatload of fun. It mattered where it needed to most, and I thought they did great. They sent the crowd home on a fucking just absolute turnaround, man. This was the best Jon Moxley looked all year. Finally, and I'm not even a huge hater of what they did with like the swerve stuff and him winning that match. There was obviously things that went into that made that annoying, but overall, man, this was the best he looked. And just I thought they did a tremendous job, and the moment of Adam Page opening up that briefcase was beautiful, man. Don't want to get into it too much, man, but all in happened. And for every Adam Page moment, there was an Adam Cole moment, because this was also the month for AEW where Adam Cole announced that he would be going away indefinitely with no return date, and he is still out to this day, man. So overall, though, it was a great month for AEW, and very very memorable for the company's history.
It was, man. Overall, the real turnaround event of AEW for the year, all in. Like you said, it was long, but it was good, man. And that ending was phenomenal, man. Loved the ending to All In, man. Adam Cole really sucks, man. We still don't have really any word on any type of timetable or if he can come back, period. But that was a sad part of the show and that month. But overall, All In was a real turn pager for AEW.
Yes, the month of August was pretty low key for AEW. They absolutely shocked me with an amazing Forbidden Door show that I'm so glad took place. It was an amazing show. They dropped out of nowhere the Hurt Syndicate and MJF story. Still don't know to this day why that was dropped exactly. We've heard different things, but there's never really been a concrete reason or follow up as to why that just randomly ended. NAEW seen the long awaited return of Wardlow, and then he would get injured again, and we have not seen him since. So again, pretty outside of Forbidden Door, man, a pretty low key month for AEW.
Yeah, like you said, Forbidden Door was a very shockingly good pay-per-view. We literally shat on that pay-per-view for a year straight, saying we're probably not even gonna review it because it's so pointless. They ended up building a really good card. We watched it, reviewed it, and the fucking show was actually fucking amazing. So fucking got us there, man. But shockingly, Forbidden Door was was phenomenal. Nothing really else happened that month, like you said, besides that whole Hurt Syndicate story drop where we still don't know why. But other than that, was a low key month with a fucking insanely good pay per view for no reason.
Indeed, it was. September was even more low key. The biggest thing for me going AEW, the biggest thing for me going into AEW in September was feeling sorry for them, because this was the month where they went head to head with WWE for WrestlePalooza and All Out, which just absolutely made no fucking sense. They were forced to move their show up a little earlier in the day, so they wouldn't go head to head with WrestlePalooza. And it sucked for AEW. It sucked for AEW. But again, I did feel sorry for AEW this month, but I was also very proud of AEW for staying in their own lane, and not really being bothered by WWE and their attempts to counter program their product, man. So, you know, I again, although I did feel bad for AEW this month, I was also very proud of them, for again just putting their head down and just simply trying to deliver the best show that they possibly could. Tony Khan also announced women's tag team championships this month, which was a head scratcher. And then we got we got AEW announcing the return of the very nostalgic tag team in Jurassic Express.
Very exactly. September, very simple month, very more unfortunate month for AEW. They got counter programmed with a fucking god awful pay per view in WrestlePalooza, and when we get to the WWE side, we'll mention that for their September. But got counter programmed, had to move shit around, man. Was a whole that whole weekend was a whole goddamn mess, man. And other than that, everything else in September was pretty solid. They had Death Rider, new member, Daniel Garcia announced his Jurassic Express return. That was cool. And then, they also announced the women's World Tag Team titles. So, pretty solid month for them, just an unfortunate one.
For sure. For sure. The month of October was also building into Wrestle Dream again, another lackluster build. Another lackluster build here for AEW. John Moxley started his reign of tapping out, so he would do this quite a bit. He would tap out against Darby Allin this month at Wrestle Dream. We saw the return of Sting. There was that whole Kyle O'Reilly mini feud with John Moxley, and then we seen the great predictability in Samoa Joe becoming a two-time AEW World Champion, man. But overall, pretty low key month for AEW as well.
Like pretty low key. One of those a lot of times where the pay per view of that month is kind of the shining star of AEW, and then the rest of it it's kind of just whatever. Same thing with October. Wrestle Dream, very good, very interesting and shocking. Samoa Joe turn to win the world title, or not to that actually not yet. Hold on, my bad. To just turn heel for now, man. But very cool, very shocking, man.
Oh, I'm stupid. That's right. Never mind. I said it would be.
No. No, did you say you win the title?
I did. Didn't he not win until Full Gear?
Okay. You didn't win until Full Gear.
My bad.
I think
You're
we
right.
both
You're right.
fucked
I did. Yeah, he turned heel. My bad. Wrong month.
Yeah, fuck it, I did the same thing. Same. Don't worry, I did the same thing. But they had the whole Darby and Mox stuff going. That was very cool. It was a bad kind of lackluster ending to their match, but overall everything was pretty solid. And that was, John Moxley, Pete Coward. That's when Marina Shafir was looking at him, very unfortunately. And that's when all hope was starting to be lost for John Moxley, man. And they were telling a really good story with them at the time. But other than that, other than Wrestle Dream and Death Riders, it was a very simple month for them.
Yes, the month of November would sort of pick things up, coincidentally enough, on some of it did come from television, man, which is very cool for
Yeah.
AEW. Um, don't see that a lot nowadays. This is where Samoa Joe would finally become a two-time AEW World Champion, so that was dope. That was dope to see. After a very shocking victory, AEW was fortunate enough to get Swerve back after losing him and Will Ospreay back in August. They would gain Swerve back. We got AEW running Blood and Guts this month with Blood and Guts this year. Completely fucking washed War Games. Completely
Yeah.
washed War Games. And then Tony Khan. The Young Bucks would also turn face this month at Full Gear. And then Tony Khan would announce yet again another championship. And we will talk about that in a little bit. But he would announce another championship in what was a very up month for AEW compared to the rest of the year.
No, exactly. Very, very up month for AEW. It was overall very fun. Full Gear wasn't an amazing show, but it had its very great and very shocking moments, like Joe shockingly winning the title from Hangman with the help of Hook, who returned, I think, back in October beforehand, returned as a face. We thought they just fucking dropped fucking everything ops related for Hook, but it turns out that was the story the whole time. Hook turns heel, rejoins the ops. Very cool moment. Swerve did return, thankfully. New song, fucking yoked to the T, and very cool to see. Mark Briscoe, as commentary you'll call him, Mike Briscoe, won the TNT title, so that was cool. He actually won a title. Never thought he would actually do that. AEW Blood and Guts was put on. It was a very, very fun show, man. Did wash War Games, like you said, and they announced the national title, man. Gotta just love the titles, man.
Yes, and then to cap off the year for AEW, this was basically as December AEW as it gets. This month was pretty much all Continental Classic mixed with an MJF return in there, and like I said, a fun show. Like World's End to cap off, which seen Moxley and MJF have great moments at the show, which I loved. Both of their respective moments, but that was pretty much it, man, for the month of December for AEW. Yeah, like I said, man, just very C2 heavy, very C2 heavy with an MJF return, and actually a really dope show to cap off the year. A very fun show in World's End. That was the year for AEW. Like I said, at the end of the day, man, I'll go a slight thumbs up because I really think in terms of when it mattered, things did pick up the second half of the year for them, which they were headed a bad fucking direction for the beginning half of the year for AEW, but they managed to pick things up overall.
Exactly. Last month, it was just the month of C2, usually how it goes with December for them. But in the last 2 years, they actually intertwined story into C2. So it's very, very good to see nowadays. And, they had World's End, very solid end to the year for them. And I like what they did here, man. Mox ended up winning the C2 very shockingly. And Death Riders didn't turn like we thought they would. And overall going into 2026 at a very interesting note for AEW.
Absolutely, man. And moving over to WWE.
Oh God.
The month of January in 2024, everybody was hyped for January. And then we ended up getting the first Raw on Netflix, which in my opinion, severely underwhelmed. Gotti
Oh yeah.
shows us Matt Hardy's tweet. Matt Hardy says, maybe at WrestleMania it's time for the Usos versus the New Day versus the Hardy Boys in a generational dream match. The Usos versus the Hardy Boys, you could sign me up for that. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Keep the fucking New Day out of there. Please keep the New Day out of there. They suck. But I want the Usos versus the Hardy Boys in a who can carry the Hardys the hardest match. See if the Usos could do it
Sure.
better than the Young Bucks did it. I would love
Yeah,
to see that.
that is true. Cause Young Bucks carried them, man.
Oh my
They
God.
fucking carried. Holy hell, they carried them. And I'm sure Usos will have to do the same thing, man. I respect the Hardy Boys, but man, they they're old men is still in the ring for some reason.
Well, they look a lot better
They're not
in the
bad.
ring,
Yeah.
but I don't know if any more Hardy Dream matches are taking place unless they're severely
Yeah.
carried. That's all I'll say.
Exactly. That's why you need a Young Bucks or Usos. I don't think really anybody else can do that for them.
Correct. And man, people do not give the Bucks the credit they deserve for giving the Hardys. That was that was to this day the last Hardy Boys match that I've actually been like really
Wow.
lit for
Mm-hmm.
personally. However, so they started the year off very underwhelming. Very underwhelming, man. Like I said, the Raw on Netflix I thought severely underwhelmed. They managed to keep themselves in controversy with these string of tweets by Corey Graves where he was throwing strays at Pat McAfee. Then he got in trouble for it, and then he tried to say that he was trying to build interest going into WrestleMania. I don't really know exactly what that was supposed to build interest for, because they weren't even building a match with those two anyways, but I digress. And then WWE started this like trade deadline. What was the other word they used for it? It was like a transfer window.
Transfer window. That's what it was.
They started this trade deadline transfer window. They were building it up huge, like, you know, there was going to be multiple people to move brands. I remember they were teasing American Made going over to SmackDown. And then they only fucking traded Damian Priest at the end of it to SmackDown, which, if you guys know me, I mean, holy shit, what a fucking way to underwhelm. I mean, you
No.
kidding me?
Yes, very, very underwhelming with that. Overall, January was very underwhelming. Everyone was very excited for Raw on Netflix. We thought we were going to get a different feel and energy into the show, a more mature, a more, whatever energy. Got none of that. It's literally the exact same thing as cable, if not a little more annoying with the ads, if I'm being honest. I kind of prefer the cable ads over the fucking Netflix ads still to this day. But, there was that, the whole transfer window trade deadline shit, hyped it up like crazy. Damian Priest was the only person I remember. I think was like Raquel the other one moved or something like it was something
No.
like that. It was horrible. It was lame ass shit there, man. And yeah, it was very lame. And then, the whole Corey stuff happened and that was very unfortunate to see. Later it ended up being good and nowadays he's back on main roster commentary, which is nice, but overall January was a very lackluster start.
Indeed it was. Indeed it was, man. So, not to mention, WWE kicked off what, in my opinion, would be the best thing about the product all year. WWE started off the farewell tour
Yes.
for John Cena. February was a very rocky, some would maybe even say this month was bold and disruptive. And Dwayne, you did exactly that, because what you ended up doing is disrupting the whole fucking year. You disrupted a huge part of John Cena's farewell tour, and you disrupted WrestleMania for no reason, just to cower it out at the end of it like an idiot and watch the show from your couch. The Rock came back, completely shook everything up for some reason. He started this story where he wanted Cody's soul, and completely, that was the huge talking point of WWE for the month of February, was The Rock coming back, being all bold and disruptive, leading into Elimination Chamber, just for nothing to happen, man. So at the time, though, a lot of people were very excited as to where this story was going to go, and a lot of people were, again, just very eager to know what The Rock's role at WrestleMania was going to be. And
Little did we know. It
little
was
did we know, yeah,
there was never a role.
there was nothing. But that was the big thing for the month of February, really.
Yeah, February was really. I mean, they had the Rumble that completely shit itself, man. They had fucking Jey Uso win the thing, and just started that whole fucking
Oof.
horrible WrestleMania build. And then The Rock came back for just to get a couple more ratings for Elimination Chamber. We would later learn, and yeah, he came in, was bold and disruptive, and that is the perfect way to describe it. Disrupted everything. Did the whole, wanted Cody's soul thing, whatever. And, it was, very unfortunate what would happen after that, which would be nothing, no follow up.
Man. The month of March, seeing WWE's European tour, where they went to it was Barcelona, Spain. It was Bologna, Italy. They went to Brussels, Belgium, which was a great episode of Monday Night Raw. They went to Glasgow, Scotland. They went to London, England. They went to a bunch of places. Ireland? No, Ireland was the one later in the year. It was a great string of European Monday Night Raws. Great atmosphere, and SmackDowns. Great atmospheres, great energy. This was one of the only things outside of Cody Cena and the energies from those crowds in Europe that were those quite literally were the only things keeping that WrestleMania build afloat for me, man. WWE also announced CM Punk will main event WrestleMania. They announced it like 3 weeks or like 3 weeks or a month in advance, which was a bit of a head scratching decision, can't lie. But they ended up being right by having that main event, obviously. But at the time, I for sure remember being like, why would you announce it so early? But again, they did make the right call. And we got another crop of WWE releases, as this was the batch with Braun Strowman and Shayna Baszler, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Dakota Kai. Those type of names got released, man. So that obviously always sucks. But overall, it was a it was a carry job month from the European crowds, Cody Rhodes and John Cena going into WrestleMania.
Exactly. You'll hear John Cena carry job throughout the rest of the year for this company overall. But they had that. The European tour was really, really dope. That was, like you said, that crowd was the only thing keeping that show alive for that period. They prematurely announced Punk in the main event, and the way they did the story, I remember, I didn't like. They just had him that was his way of cashing in the favor from 2024's War Games, was just being in the main event, and then they kind of roped it and they kind of roped Paul Heyman into it, which ended up making sense for the match, but at the time they announced it was very lackluster and lame to me. But come WrestleMania, that was one of the only good things at WrestleMania, so that ended up turning out right. Bunch of releases in that month. They usually do their yearly release, big release block, and that was a big one. You had Braun, you had Cora Jade, and all those type of names, man. And then they had the Naomi heel turn, which was very nice, man. A nice diamond in the rough with Cody, Cena, and Naomi in there.
Yes. Yes, and yeah, this was the month where Naomi officially did turn heel as well. Moving into April, WWE completely just completely shit the bed with WrestleMania. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's absolutely no other way to put it. They completely shit the bed with WrestleMania. The Rock got himself in a lot of controversy by no showing and abandoning WrestleMania. He tried to do this was the month he tried to do damage control by hopping on Pat McAfee's show and basically trying to say, the story wasn't, it wasn't, I wanted John to have the spotlight. The story doesn't need me. It just seemed like a pity party. He was trying to get everybody on his side like a goof. And again, just trying to do damage control and throw it back in the fans' face, saying, it didn't need me anyway. Shut up. Okay? It absolutely was ridiculous. WWE acquired AAA this month, was a huge acquisition for them, by all the talent that they were able to scoop up through that partnership. And then this was the month where we seen WWE get, a new faction that would pretty much carry Monday Night Raw, or at least be a huge, maybe not carry, but be a huge part, the biggest part of Monday Night Raw for the rest of the year. We've seen Braun Breaker join Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, which at the time was the Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins Alliance or group, which would later be known as The Vision.
Exactly, man. April was a very interesting month at WrestleMania. Complete disaster, overhyped to all hell, and just did not deliver in any of it. There was good in there. There was the women's triple threat. There was the Punk triple threat. And there was a few things. Dom was great in there. They had fucking Jey Uso tap out Gunther.
Oh.
So very, very horrible overall WrestleMania, man. They had The Rock just no show completely and just abandoned ship really. And then come December we learned that he made like 80 million this year due to his TKO position. So that's just great. That's great to see. He definitely deserves that. They had the start of the Vision, which is like the anchor story for Raw, for the year and probably for like the next half of next year. So that's when Braun joined them and started the whole Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman coup, that whole thing until they finally got a name, and then they acquired AAA, which at the time was very cool and very interesting. Later in the year would devolve into AEW ROH levels of annoyance on television, but at the moment it was really cool.
100%. The month of May saw them, saw that very group acquire a returning Bronson Reed, which was dope. That was at the May Saturday night's main event. We've seen the Wyatt Six return from their abnormally long hiatus. And then for the months of May and June, we've seen WWE have John Cena mixing it up with Jey Uso, Logan Paul, R-Truth, and Cody Rhodes still, which to me was the biggest speed bump that would come from the farewell tour. This was really the only part of it that I did not like.
Same, exactly. For the farewell tour, I'm agreeing with you. This was the only portion or time period of it I didn't like. Overall, I liked everything else, but you had this. The R-Truth stuff was kind of just a whatever. I was like, all right, we're doing this, whatever. We'll get to something more important next. And then literally the next show, they fucking did a tag match where he teamed with fucking just Logan Paul, and he fucking faced Jey Uso and Cody, and it was a whole disaster. So that was the only portion, like you said, of the farewell tour I didn't like. Other than that, Wyatt Six return, that was really cool. They were kind of just didn't have creative for them. And then they finally, I think, wasn't one of them injured for a little bit? That was another reason why they were off TV. Then they finally came back. Jeff Cobb debuted that month and would later be renamed to JC Mateo. So that was kind of unfortunate and to a very cool moment. And then Bronson Reed joined the Vision. That was actually very cool. I love Bronson Reed. Very unfortunate he's basically the least important member at this current point in the Vision story. But at the moment, it was really cool. And his connection to Seth joining the group was actually really fucking dope.
Very cool. Very cool. The month of June saw another huge controversy for WWE with R-Truth being let go and then rehired, and Triple H, Paul, we haven't forgot about you, Paul. You know, Paul, this month he made him to this day. Aside from maybe the Cody Rhodes tweets, I can't remember a time where Triple H made himself look like a bigger asshat than when he sat on that Money in the Bank post show and was like, "Hey man, it's all part of the show. Did you enjoy the show?" When they fucking asked him about R-Truth, Paul, you idiot. They fired and then R-Truth, this was the whole thing where R-Truth's son called Cap on R-Truth's release being a part of the show. They made themselves, and Paul specifically made himself look like the biggest dummy in the company, bro. He made himself look like such an idiot. Other than that, they called up Stephanie Vacker and Julia, which was that. They started their feud between John Cena and CM Punk, which would only be like a 2-week thing. Sucks that didn't go into SummerSlam, but they had to just give it to fucking Cody. And then Night of Champions saw them not do King of the Ring, but then at the last second, fucking Paul, what are you doing? He added it back. I don't fucking know. This was also the month where WWE announced that from an uproar from their fans, they announced that WrestleMania would be going back to Las Vegas for WrestleMania 42. If Triple H manages, and we'll find this out, and this will be in next year's 2026 rewind, if Triple H manages to fuck this one up too, then all hope is truly lost, man. But that was pretty much the month of June, man. Overall, a month where WWE, aside from the Cena and Punk program, they made themselves look like absolute idiots.
They really did. This was probably the real big start to the Triple H hate of the year, was him looking like a complete ass and a dick, and letting go of R-Truth, where we would later learn that he was the main reason that R-Truth didn't re-sign. We would later learn that Nick Khan is the reason he got re-signed in the first place. Triple H never even called him to re-sign him after the controversy started. And then he would get on Money in the Bank, try to play it up like it's a part of the show and the story and all this. He would later get called out for that. Man, Triple H looked like the biggest ass of all asses at Money in the Bank and that whole weekend and that whole circle of events. Just horrible. Horrible for the company, especially Triple H, man. Lost a lot of respect for the Baltimore on there, and never really gained it back throughout the year, man. So
yeah,
he's still working on that one. But
he is.
other than that, they did have Money in the Bank where Seth and Naomi would win. Naomi was a very nice, very fun surprise for the women for the Money in the Bank, and she would later really show out post win Money in the Bank. They would give it to Seth. Very lame, very lackluster. They ended up doing something with it, and we'll get to that for the next months. But man, was a lame decision at the time. We had Cena and Punk, night fucking diamond in the rough for that month,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, yeah.
It was short, very short, and their pay-per-view match itself ended up getting fucking disrupted by the Vision. So there was that, but there still was greatness in there. I mean, it's Punk and Cena. They're gonna make anything great.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love the whole Thugonomics Punk thing they did.
Me
A
neither.
lot of people loved it. I didn't love it. What I did love, pipe bomb Cena, fire, one of
Ooh.
my favorite Cena moments all year, man.
Oh yeah.
Incredible. But other than that, they really didn't have a great month in June. For up till I think before Mania, up to the show, we were under the impression of no King of the Ring. And then like 2 weeks before the show, they just announced King and Queen of the Ring for the show, and Cody would fucking win it, Jade would win it, and then after Cody's win, they would do more heel Randy teases that literally to this day still hasn't happened.
Nope.
And then the big controversy, besides the R-Truth stuff, was Vegas Steals Mania, and Triple H just fucking does his annoying ads of if something's great, you gotta do it again, or whatever the
Oh
fuck he
my. Oh,
said.
I forgot about that initial one where he's like,
It was every great something you
yeah,
gotta do twice.
yeah,
Ugh,
like, shut up, Paul.
fucking made
Shut the
himself look
fuck
like an
up.
ass again.
Oh my god.
So June was a bad month, and it did not get better from here.
No, it didn't, because in July, aside from Evolution 2, um, WWE started a fake injury angle with Seth Rollins that would be paid off a month later. Well, actually, no. Goldberg retired this month, which was fucking awesome. That was great. Fucking don't let the door hit you on the way out. Um, we lost wrestling legend Hulk Hogan, and WWE released Unreal, which sent shockwaves through the wrestling world to see what their creative process is like and how much of a absolute moron Triple H made himself look like in the show. Also, he makes himself look like a moron every week when he fucking puts on Raw and SmackDown. So pretty just again, aside from Evolution 2, man, July was pretty much a blah month for the company, man. It just there was nothing going on.
No, for real, nothing really happened in July other than Evolution 2. Women were doing great all throughout the year, man. And now it's, when I was something positive WWE had throughout the year was the women, and Evolution 2 was the shining example of that, man. On paper, that's probably their best pay-per-view all year, from match to match, part of the show to part of the show. Very good show from then. Naomi cashed in on Io. Very dope, very awesome moment. And the TV she would go on to have after that was really fucking dope, for the time we had it. R.I.P. Hogan, greatest liar of all time. No one can lie like him, man. So R.I.P. Hogan. They would start to set up for SummerSlam, Paul, or not, yeah, Paul as in Logan Paul, and Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. So there was your fucking monthly celebrity fuck fest. And then Gunther retires Goldberg, which was nice to see. Fucking good riddance, never come back. And then they had WWE Unreal. That was the start of the new kayfabe, as people kind of call it, and I think Triple H likes to kind of delve into, is the new kayfabe where we know that it's fake, but it's horrible. I hate it. But
Yeah.
that was kind of the start of it with WWE Unreal, and kind of just continues to this day, man. And they did start that fake injury angle with Seth, which I'll give them props. I believed it. I mean, you have someone with a fucking crumbly ass body like fucking Seth. I believed it. So they got me there, man. But they started that, and that would later, get paid off.
This is true. The month of August would see that pay off with Seth Rollins' Ruse of the Century.
That's a lame name.
That is a very lame name. I personally would have went with Heist of the Summer, not Ruse of the Century. Personally. WWE put on a very boring episode of, or a very boring edition of SummerSlam. I mean, this was the month where Becky Lynch joined the Vision. This is also, speaking of controversy, they started this whole, they were, or not started, but they were involved with this whole controversy with Karrion Kross. Is WWE going to re-sign Karrion Kross? surely they can't be dumb enough to let the guy walk. And they let the guy walk. Then there was this whole ordeal about them giving him a contract that he had 24 hours to sign, or else they will rescind the deal. They ended up rescinding the deal. And then WWE went ahead and brought back Brock Lesnar, which was a very questionable decision. It really, oddly enough, it split their fan base. It really did. A lot of their fan base was of the impression that Brock did nothing wrong. A lot of people did not want to see him, which both sides are technically right. It really just is a matter of what side you sit on. You can't really say anything's wrong because, again, a lot of people sat there and said, well, Brock wasn't convicted, which, again, they're not technically wrong. But you also can't be mad at the people that just didn't really want to see him because of his name being involved in all that, or even being remotely close to all that. So you can't really say either side is wrong. Either way, it really just is a matter of your opinion and which side you sit in morally. But Brock Lesnar came back personally. I can respect Brock inside of the ring. I think Brock's a very underrated performer, but even me personally, I just didn't care to see him back. And I thought it was a very shitty tactic of WWE, and I feel like they just did it because they were creatively bankrupt when they did not have to be, which also showed a major hole in Triple H's game that still we are seeing to this day. So overall, very controversy-filled month for WWE.
Very controversy-filled month. They had SummerSlam, first 2 night SummerSlam technically. They organized that show horribly. Night 1 was all the shitters, and then night 2 was only the matches you cared about. And even then, night 2 wasn't even that good. So very, very bad SummerSlam overall. I did not like SummerSlam, but they did have, Punk beat Gunther and get cashed in by Seth, who revealed the ruse of the century, which I'll admit, very cool moment on paper. I'll give them that. They also had Becky. Logan mentioned in the comments. Becky did help Seth and the Vision, help in that moment against Punk, which would later set up the AJ Lee return after a few weeks of that, which was very cool, man. It was very cool. Overall, I'll give them the prop for that one. Other than that, everything else on SummerSlam was completely pointless and meaningless. They did have the Brock return, which Brock is one of those people where, on paper, he's one of, if not probably the greatest of all time in the ring. He just never cares enough to ever actually show it. That's my biggest problem with Brock is he's one of those guys, you put him in the dream matches in your head, and in your head it's going to be so good and so great, but the guy just never cares enough to actually be great. So that sucks. And then there's obviously the whole controversy he was involved in, where, he was doing all that stuff, man. So very dumb move of WWE to bring him back in the way they did and the reasons they did, and it didn't obviously work out for them. They ended up literally being disappointed in the reaction to the Brock return. Don't know what you expected, man. But there's all that, and then the Cross stuff. The whole will he resign? Will they resign him? To this day, still not in the company. They gave him a 24-hour contract. What fool would sign that? Cross isn't a fool, and he's been doing his thing ever since, man. So, gotta give props to Cross for sticking to his guns, man, and not being a mark and signing a 24-hour contract. And hopefully, come 2026, something can happen with Cross, man. But overall, very, very controversy-filled month with them.
We have the month of September, which saw us go to SmackDown. We went to SmackDown
Very
this month,
dope.
which was an absolutely unforgettable experience. We got to say our goodbyes, get our live event closure, I guess, with the GOAT, John Cena. And we seen AJ Lee return to the company from a 10-year absence this month, which was fucking awesome. That was awesome. We were in the crowd for it. WWE had a very cool storyline going on with Jey Uso here, where he was like turning a heel or teasing a heel turn, which they later just dropped. And then speaking of WWE dropping the ball here with they did it. After all the speculation, they finally gave our beloved WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia. They announced the WrestleMania 2027 Saudi move, which was I mentioned how the Brock stuff split their fan base. This did not split their fan base. Their fan base was completely fucking hating on this. Completely hating on this move. And then we seen WWE move to ESPN and absolutely fucking just we talked about how Mania shit the bed. WrestlePalooza, if Mania shit the bed, then WrestleMania or WrestlePalooza, man, they lit the bed on fire. I mean, it was an absolute dumpster fire of a show. One of the most piece of shit, underwhelming things WWE did all year. Horrible fucking show they put on here. And to cap off the month, John Cena and AJ Styles bullied Paul Levesque to give them their match in the month of October. So that was dope. But aside from SmackDown that we went to, which was our personal experience, another bad month. Again, outside of AJ and Cena bullying Paul Levesque on Twitter. Another bad month
great.
on the books for WWE.
Exactly. Another very bad month for them. Other than, like you said, SmackDown, AJ Lee and Cena. That was a very great experience, and that was a very great night for them, dude. AJ Lee returned a very, very cool moment. Huge pop. Perfect place to do it. No other place than Chicago. Cena's last SmackDown in Chicago. Got to experience that live. Amazing, amazing day. An amazing experience, man. Say goodbye to the GOAT in the live setting. And it was really awesome, man. And then the rest of the month just went down in the shitter, man. You had the Saudi Mania announcement. That was just, like you said, you know, certain stuff can divide fans. Fans were not divided in that one. Everybody, every type of WWE fan hated that announcement, and they hate it to this day. And everyone's dreading that Saudi WrestleMania, man. So very, very bad luck for them. They would release Andrade randomly in that month, man, and that was just a very shocking release. And then, you know, the whole controversy after that, man, that he would later rejoin AEW, and then, you know, fucking not, because he has a fucking year-long no compete. That literally just last week got fixed. So that started like a 3-month fuckfest for Andrade. They did start that Jey Uso, you know, Roman influenced heel tease that 2 months later that they would end up dropping for a very unfortunately funny reason. But very interesting story that they would later drop. Unfortunately, the stuff him and Jimmy were doing and bickering on TV was really good at that time, man. They would move to ESPN on pay-per-view, starting with WrestlePalooza. Earlier in the year, we were, you know, knowing about the ESPN move, and then they literally just announced it for WrestlePalooza and just said, we're doing it now. And WrestlePalooza came, and boy, was that one of the worst shows of shows, man. Absolutely abysmal show. Triple H is a fucking dumbass for that show. Horrible, overhyped. Triple H was on there saying it's the fucking second WrestleMania of the year, and you know what, that is a very true statement, because WrestleMania was god awful, and WrestlePalooza was even worse, man. So it really was the second WrestleMania of the year, and very horrible show. Fucking horrible show. They had Lesnar bury Cena, which, besides from the stuff earlier in the year with Cena that we didn't like, you know, the whole, you know, tag teaming with, you know, Logan Paul and all that. Other than that, this individual moment is the worst moment of the retirement tour for me. Is that match itself, where Lesnar literally fucking buried John Cena in his like 7th to last fucking appearance. Horrible moment. Fucking Triple H is a fucking piece of shit for that. But speaking of Triple H being a piece of shit, they would bully him into announcing Cena versus Styles, where, of course, Triple H and all his ego would take the liberty to announce it himself on Twitter as if he's the one that just made the decision. And It was very funny, but very Triple H to do it.
100%. So, the month of October, seeing just that. John Cena versus AJ Styles. We got an unforgettable bout there. WWE would find out while they were down under that Seth Rollins was injured. There was the Shock Vision turn this month, which was a dope fucking turn. I love that
Mhm.
episode of Raw and the way they did that night. I thought it was just fucking amazing how they did that. And WWE seen the return of over a year. Ilya Dragunov would return to SmackDown this month. And then WWE would also manage to get themselves in controversy when the stories came out that they were using writer AI to help them with their story planning and story continuity. And then there was the whole drama about the SmackDown reset. Everybody got canned but Road Dogg. And the show still fucking sucks. So again, other than Cena Styles and an amazing Vision turn, and honestly, everything TV this month was actually pretty good. It was really just the out of the ring stuff this month that really kind of put the thumbs down for WWE in the month of October.
Yeah, exactly. Besides, the TV itself was like the one exception where it was actually interesting and good. There was Clash in Paris, which was carried by AJ and Cena. Very great, amazing fucking match. A very great moment, man. You had the whole, Cena writing his custom introduction for AJ. Very
Yeah.
dope moment and match, dude. I loved everything surrounding that. Um, obviously Seth would unfortunately be injured for real, just very shortly after the fake injury story. So very just horrible timing with that, man. So that sucks, but they end up writing a good story out of it in that moment. And that next night of, everyone kind of learning about the injury, they would have Braun Breaker turn on him, and the rest of the division would join in on that turn in a very cool moment. I love the way they did that, man. And very, very cool emergency booking from them in that moment. I did like how they did that. On SmackDown side, Dragunov would return in the U.S. title scene, win it. Very, very cool. Love everything about that. And that's when SmackDown had the creative reset, where they had that one good episode after the creative reset and never had a good one again, other than fucking the US title scene, which is a fucking crazy sentence to say. But, and then they had the whole writer AI controversy where what do you hire in writers if you have AI do it, which apparently neither or know how to do their job right. So very fucking lame month for them overall.
Yes, the month of November pretty much got no better. Aside from CM Punk winning his first world championship, well, his second world championship, first reign of a world title. Aside from Punk winning the world title, and John Cena also winning the IC championship to make him the Grand Slam GOAT. Um, WWE had another really bad month this month. This month obviously had War Games in it. Survivor Series, which was an absolutely horrible fucking show. Horrible show. There was that whole LA Knight controversy with holding up the sign that said we want LA, not Jay. There was that whole thing. WWE had Logan Paul join the Vision in place of Seth Rollins to set up for War Games. WWE again made empty promises. They made empty promises for the War Games main event that never really ended up coming into fruition. Maybe it's going to come into fruition in the Mania build, but if that was the tease, then it sucked. I can say that. Yeah, that was pretty much the month of November for WWE, man. Again, another just very lackluster month. Although the one bright spot out of it was again Cena, Punk, per usual, and Chicago was finally official for getting our elimination chamber, man. So that was really dope as well.
Exactly. Overall, November was a very bad month. Like you said, they had Punk, they had Cena. Punk winning the vacated world heavyweight title was very cool and very deserved for Punk. And then deserved Cena wins IC title, Grand Slam GOAT. Very awesome from those two guys, whether they're facing each other or they're doing their own separate thing. They're the best thing on the show. So very, very awesome to see with that, man. Um, they had War Games, which was an absolute another shit the bed of them for the year. Basically, all their big shows this year, besides Elimination Chamber, completely shit the bed. Rumble was garbage, Mania was garbage, SummerSlam, and to cap it off, SummerSlam at the end of the year for them was garbage. Survivor Series at the end of the year was garbage, man. They changed the rules to the War Games match, probably only because Brock was in it. I have a feeling this won't be here next year for next year's War Games, but instead of the cages, which was one of the best storytelling devices for War Games, they just had them do their entrance every time they would be called out there. Very horrible change for War Games. Again, I think it was just because of Brock was there. So there's that. The matches themselves are fucking horrible. The women's was completely meaningless and lackluster. The men's was like the rest of the year was overpromised and underdelivered. Didn't nothing happen. It was the most generic match ever. And they teased a whole story, which really wasn't set up from what we know, and they're probably going to set some up for WrestleMania in terms of where they could say, "See, you idiots, it was set up in War Games, but it really wasn't." You know how Triple H is. So Survivor Series is very disappointing. They would have a mask guy helping the match, which would, next month be revealed. But none of that. Logan Paul would join the Vision, which we thought was temporarily. Come to find out after War Games, he's actually just a member of the group for some reason. And then to cap it all off, WWE would give up on singles Jey Uso before the end of the year, man. Sad to see in a way because they were actually doing something good with him when they dropped the whole, heel turned Roman influence storyline, and literally just completely dropped it and made him a tag guy again. And good for his in-ring work, but very unfortunate they just dropped the story like that and kind of sucks for himself to be just giving up on that as a singles, but on you have to at the end of the day. So November was a and you know what? One thing to cap it off, I think it was that same War Games weekend is Triple H going on Twitter and glazing fucking Cody Rhodes in the most glaze-filled tweet of just had to tweet this, and just went on completely glazing Cody Rhodes for just doing the most generic wrestler things ever of just doing the schedule of a champion, and very, very lame and sad month for them.
It was in the month of December. The month of December, man, we seen the Triple H hate reach an all-time high as he pulled off the Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final match show, where you see the image under Sir K's nameplate, but John Cena tapped out. And this man, Triple H, got booed out of the fucking building for this decision. He got absolutely booed out of the fucking building for that decision, man. And a decision that overall I didn't think was so bad. A lot of people fucking hated it though. And yeah, it was a difficult decision to make. He made it and he definitely felt the heat for it, but it didn't seem to bother him too much, I guess. But yeah, he made that decision, man, and that was pretty much largely what has been the month of December. They're building to their Stranger Things Monday Night Raw next week, and seen two cool title changes, I guess, this month with Carmelo Hayes winning the U.S. title and the Usos winning the tag team championships. But outside of John Cena retiring, this has been the month for WWE.
Exactly. End of the year. Overall, not great, but they had their things that I and you liked. I obviously Cena. That was a very common denominator all year. But this is probably the most divisive moment of the farewell tour, I guess. For some reason, even though they weren't that angry when Brock buried him, but they were angry when Gunther tapped him out in his retirement show. Amazing show, man. Very beautifully sad show. And beautifully sad goodbye to the GOAT. I loved it. You loved it. The moment of Gunther beating him, I thought it was great. Very, very awesome. Very divisive. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. And John Cena would retire, man. And on that show, they would do a whole showcase of NXT talent, which Von Evans, Obafemi, and Sol Ruka, which now we're learning this month look to be being called up earlier than initially planned, which is very good to see. I like that. Very happy with that, man. Carmelo Hayes and Usos would win, respective titles, US and tag. Very happy for Hayes. Very happy for the Usos, I guess. I mean, they're back being a tag team, which is good. I think they're still using Jay's theme, which is fucking annoying, but they're back as a tag team, which is good to see. And Matt, the masked guy that helped in Survivor Series, would be revealed as Austin Theory, who would return to television. We really only know so much right now. Really, 2026 is gonna time to tell that story. So there's that, man. But good to see Theory back. I like Theory. Would really preferred Theory as a face, but we'll see how everything goes with this Vision heel run. Um, and December was an all right month. I mean, kind of bad, but they have some shining stars in there.
Yeah. So overall, for the year for WWE, man, I will probably have to give this one a slight thumbs down, as
Yeah.
it just again largely underwhelmed. That was the pretty much the story of WWE for 2025, was a year that they hyped up because they had such a boom period in 2023 and 2024. And Triple H, he's got to start his fucking we're just getting started shit, and then just to completely have it die out, and just overhype everything to the point where the plans he has in place just aren't good enough. They're not good enough for to match the level of hype you're putting into it. So overall, for me, I would say it had its good points. We've seen the return of AJ Lee and John Cena having his farewell tour, and we did see very good points in the year. But then again, there, for all of that stuff, there is his Cody Glaze and his LA Knight and Drew McIntyre burials and all this other stuff that just completely made it largely underwhelming, and a lot of the stuff was fucking trash for what they hyped it up to be, man. Um, it also doesn't help WWE's a company, and Triple H is the kind of guy that really likes to believe his own hype. He really likes to believe that he is, doing it big. And when somebody who used to be so good at listening to his fan base, largely just felt like he didn't really give a shit about his fan base. And this year for me, just really underwhelmed in that aspect. And a lot of times it just felt like WWE set themselves up for failure. A lot of times people use the excuse of like, oh well, you guys as fans are, you guys as fans hype yourself up for this stuff that's never going to be that good. No, WWE showed us The Rock, and they showed us, the Rock and Travis Scott involved with these stories, and they didn't have any plan for it. They gave us a John Cena heel turn when they did not have a plan creatively for it. John made that fucking iconic. They needed to have a plan for this kind of stuff. They didn't know what they wanted to do with Cena for the next match and the next match and the next match and the next match. They didn't fucking know. They didn't have a plan. Meanwhile, they hyped so much of their stuff up like this was going to be some godly year, and they didn't have a fucking clue what they're doing. That's on them as bookers. It would be look at us here at NHP. if we didn't have plans for what we wanted to do or what we wanted to talk about in this kind of thing, and we just came on here and just completely shit the bed because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, that's on us, right? As a viewer, you can say that's on you guys for not being organized enough in your show. Same thing applies to WWE. They weren't organized for their show. You cannot get mad at your fan base for being mad that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. That's like showing up to film a Spider-Man movie and you don't got no script. What the fuck are we doing? We can't. We're just here winging every scene, and then the movie turns out like shit. You can't be mad at your fan base for holding you to that standard and holding you accountable. And that's one thing I want to get into in a little bit here with WWE and their lack of taking accountability.
100%, and I am in agreement with you. My review for the year with them overall is at least slight, if not kind of semi-decently thumbs down, man. I didn't enjoy them overall this year. There was enjoyable stuff. You have your few reliable people where I trust the person more than I trust the company. You got Punk, you got Cena, Vision, Spare, at least, well, I'll get into it, but two members of the Vision overall I enjoyed this year, man. You have, usually individually the Bloodline members, whatever they're doing is usually pretty interesting. We had Kevin Owens for that first like half of the year, and he was doing really amazing. Injury would take him out the picture, and I think creative ended up suffering after that. But overall this year, man, it was a lot of just overhype, just Triple H throwing these crazy half-court shots that he's fucking telling you to bet on him for, and he's not making any of them, man. He's out in there on the fucking court playing horribly, man. And that was just a year for WWE. It was overpromised, overhyped. You have a new era every other pay-per-view. You have an epic Raw here. You have a new and improved SmackDown there, and nothing's ever epic or new or special or nothing. That this whole year was just overhyped and disappointing, man. And that was overall the span of the year, man. They hyped up Raw on Netflix, didn't work out in my opinion. Hyped up the Vegas Mania, completely shit the bed on it. Rock came back, had you hyped for some soul stealing story with Cena and Cody and all this, to where we thought, before they would debut, the Vision would be involved in the Rock and all that. Dude never showed up again, and everything ended up getting dropped. Everything was very disappointing with that. WWE just had a very disappointing, very just lie to your face year, man, where they lie to your face, they call you stupid, and then they put on a horrible show, but they still call you stupid and lie to your face. So overall, very disappointing year for WWE. Creative wasn't all that. The shows weren't all that. But the big killer here was how openly involved, the backstage element was, where they proudly said, Triple H and his writing team, they're doing this. They made a whole show on Real about Triple H and his writing team doing this. And they did it horribly, man, and they're proudly doing it horribly. And it was just a very lackluster and slap in your face feel for the year overall for WWE. Overall, it's going to be a thumbs down for me with WWE this year.
100%, man. So, moving back over to AEW, man, did you want to start us off with our list of likes that we have prepared for you guys, man? We have prepared a
Overall,
couple likes and a couple dislikes before me and Sir K move on to our actual predictions here.
okay, are we doing one, you do the other,
Correct.
and then so on?
Yes.
Okay. To start it off with the likes for AEW this year, we're going to have to go with their pay-per-views, man. I mean, there's a dislike paired with pay-per-views we'll get into later, but overall, man, AEW pay-per-views this year were very, very reliable, man. You went into an AEW pay-per-view this year, you knew you were going to get a good show, man. You knew with any pay-per-view there's going to be the boring parts, but overall, you were happy with what you got and what you paid for with the pay-per-view. You came in there, you enjoyed some matches, the few stories they told, you did really enjoy those, and you went into the pay-per-view, overall happy and just thinking the show was going to do good. And usually, besides Dynasty, you came out the pay-per-view being happy and overall being fulfilled with what you got and what you watched, man. So AEW did really good with their pay-per-views this year overall.
They did. They did very well, man. And the second thing we got for you guys, man, is one thing I loved about AEW this year is the good locker room morale. We heard this big
Yeah.
controversy about, Adam Page and Will Ospreay, and it sent the IWC in an uproar because they're like, oh, nobody wants to carry the ball in AEW. There was this big controversy that Will wanted Hangman to win, Hangman wanted Will to win and go on to fight for the AEW World Championship. There was this big controversy amongst the IWC. This sent AEW into an uproar amongst the fans on Twitter. And I, to this day, have no fucking idea why. This story came out after All In, and I have no idea why. This is what you want in your company. You want guys that believe in other guys. And everybody took this as, well, Austin would never say, oh yeah, just give the title to Bret Hart instead of me. When they fail to realize this is what you asked for. A couple years ago, people asked, why can't everybody get back? Why can't everybody backstage in AEW just get along? They get along and people now hate it. To me, I love it. It shows belief. And again, it's not like Hangman is saying, I don't want it. He's just saying, hey, I think maybe Will would be great to, be in that story, be the guy to take the championship from Jon Moxley. And Will said the same thing about Hangman. It shows belief in each other. It shows belief in the locker room, and it shows an atmosphere where people aren't being selfish and just want, oh, I want these accolades, I want this, this, and this. People actually want to see the company as a whole succeed, which I fucking love. That was one thing that was a huge like for me for AEW for 2025.
Very, very good. And another huge like for AEW in the year 2025 was their trust and just the way they go about trusting and having faith in their young talent, man. I mean, this year, or just overall with AEW, you have faith in what they're gonna do and what the young talent's gonna do. And in AEW, it's very sink or swim. And if you swim, you fucking swim. And obviously, if you sink, you sink. But you look at names like Kyle Fletcher, who last year became singles. At first, neither of us believed in him. In 2024, we were proven wrong, and in 2025, we were really fucking proven wrong. Dude's amazing. And you have faith, and AEW has faith in Kyle Fletcher to where you just see a genuine path of growth and quality and of just him moving up the card, man. He was TNT champ this year, and now he's not TNT champ, but you know what he's going to do now. We'll get into that later with predictions, man. But very, very good faith in the young talent. You got Takeshita, where TK is basically setting him up as this next up Okada in the business. Has faith in him. A lot of the guys in their main event scene are young, and TK has faith in them, and he can trust them. Swerve, MJF, Hang. These are guys who are now multiple-time world champions, where the company trusts them and the fans trust them to be in that main event spot, tell a good story, be a good champion, have a good chase, whatever it may be. AEW trusts them and the fans trust them, and it's the perfect combination to have faith in young talent, which is very good to see in the business.
It is, man. And the next thing we got here is good predictability. There were a lot of points in AEW where we did see a lot of unpredictable stuff this year for sure. We seen obviously stuff like Hangman Ospreay that was very unpredictable. But then when you move over to the good predictability stuff, this is more so where I wanted to highlight things like Samoa Joe winning the oh wait, no.
He won and turn. I think you're mixing both the tail turn and the title win, like we did earlier in the show.
Yes. Okay. Did I mean to put good unpredictability?
I
Yes.
think that's what you meant, but
Okay,
like
my
we
bad.
meant like good.
My bad. Okay. Good unpredictability within the year, which brings me. I kept saying predictability. Good unpredictability this year, man. I mentioned just now, you know, Osprey and Hangman. Very unpredictable situation, but either one of them was really good. This brings me over to Samoa Joe, where Samoa Joe is, he's obviously been a world champion before, and Tony Khan made the very, at least to me, it was very unpredictable decision of putting the world championship on Samoa Joe, and it ended up being a tremendous move and something that was shocking and unpredictable. But to me, it didn't hit like the Jey Uso Royal Rumble win, where it's unpredictability, but it's unpredictability that leaves you scratching your head like, now this fucks everything up. Um, Stuff like that, I feel like WWE did horribly this year, but AEW really capitalized on good unpredictability, man. MJF winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Although I did predict it, it was shocking to a lot of people that he won the World Championship back. Mark Briscoe beating Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. A lot of people thought Fletcher would hold the TNT title for a while. He ended up losing it at Full Gear, and what was an unpredictable but good situation. So I got to give props to AEW for that. John Moxley, being a coward and saying I quit or tapping out, that is stuff that is unpredictable to a lot of people because Moxley doesn't normally do that. But it plays into a story like the Death Riders great. So overall, great unpredictability from AEW this year. And again, unpredictability where you say, oh shit, actually, I kind of fuck with that. Look at John Moxley winning the Continental Classic, man, which again plays into the Death Rider story perfectly. And speaking of that, I'll hand it over to Sir K.
Exactly. Speaking of that, next up on the list of likes for AEW, it is a Death Riders turnaround, man. When I tell you that at the start of the year,
Oh my
this
god.
group was so bad, not only was it a meme, but you had every pay-per-view, which will be in the next kind of bracket to this, is every pay-per-view, Revolution, Double or Nothing, Dynasty is saying, dude, just drop this story, man. Just drop this group. Moxley got to drop the title to Cope, to Swerve, to this person, to that person. Just drop it. Just drop everything. And Tony Khan, he stuck to his guts. He stuck to the original plan and kept it on him throughout the year up until All In. And it ended up working out, man. From the start to the build to All In to the rest of the year, man, the Death Riders had a complete turnaround where, you know, Moxley would lose the title at All in a very great story that was told in a very great moment, which started, the coward story for John Moxley, which ended up turning into the workhorse turnaround story for Moxley, and it completely turned the Death Riders around, man. They went from the biggest fucking annoyance and just bad group to the best thing on AEW television from All In up until now. It's the Death Riders, man. They're cool. They have the theme song. They have the entrance, which they really just sank their teeth into with the production for Death Riders, man. They kind of had no production for the most part for that first half of the year. And then they had the whole red light just standing silhouette entrance, and they would all come out, and Marina Shafir would always be with Moxley, and they with the Death Riders, TK, I can't believe he did this. Not only did he make a heater work in modern day wrestling, which almost never happens, but a female heater for a male superstar, which is one of the best heaters in the business right now. Probably the best heater in the business right now, Marina Shafir. They made that shit so cool and so meaningful. Death Riders had a complete turnaround, and like I said, TK stuck to his guts, stuck to his plan, and kept that title on John Moxley up until All In, which I still think the original plan was going a little bit past All In, but I think the plan shifted from Darby Allin to Hangman, obviously, which I think that ended up being better overall anyway. But he stuck to his guns, and the Death Riders had a complete turnaround to be one of the coolest things in the business, period, man. So crazy great turnaround for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of turnaround, Tony Khan got media trained, bro. Tony Khan got media trained, and AEW found out this year what it means to stay in their own lane. Tony Khan was not out making random tweets about, throwing strays at John Cena or The Undertaker or Jinder Mahal. He wasn't doing any of that this year, man. He was in his own lane. Tony Khan was the definition this year of putting his head down and going to work. He was trying to put his head down and just put on the best show or the best pay-per-views that he possibly could. And that caused AEW's morale, for me at least, and from what we hear, to be very high. AEW stood in their own lane this year. They did not try to overstep and again, just be all over WWE or anything like that, man. It was just very nice to see from AEW, man. They did not try to go head to head with WWE. They know their place, and they just tried to do the best with what they are. And that I appreciated a lot, and I love from AEW, man. I thought this was a great thing. Yeah, man. Again, I thought they did a great job, man. I thought they did a great job at staying in their own lane this year. But this moves us over the dislikes of AEW, Sir K, if you will.
First dislike for AEW, man, and this is a very common thing in the business, but especially for AEW this year. Weekly television, man, and kind of the way they build pay-per-views in weekly television, but dog. Dynamite is useless, dude, and that's the biggest problem. Dynamite, week to week, is completely useless. Pay-per-views are great, and obviously that was one of our likes, but the weekly television that builds it and the weekly television that tells a story after the pay-per-view is always completely pointless, man. Usually with Dynamite, you'll have your two big stories at a time that you care to watch, and you have and it'll have the good segment on Dynamite that week, but overall, Dynamite is horrible. I mean, you guys watch the normal episodes on Unscripted. Anytime you see that logo fade into the show, you just hear us moan and groan that we fucking gotta talk about Dynamite. Dynamite's bad, dude. Collision is just untalkable about. It's not even a show, so it doesn't even count. But you're talking about Dynamite. So lackluster, man. Nothing matters. Half the time it's just matches, and they don't really build to their stories properly overall. And just weekly television for Dynamite is just very horrible and very meaningless for AEW. That was one of their big bad parts about the year, man, is weekly television is basically, for the most part, completely meaningless.
It is, and speaking of meaningless, we have a lot of underwhelming title reigns, and this is one thing me and Sir K talk about all the time, but it's the matter of Tony Khan knowing so well how to do the chase, but after
beast at it.
he don't got a fucking clue what to do.
Nope.
After the chase, he has absolutely no idea what to do whatsoever. I mean, he is he again, you look at a lot of title reigns that go on, like earlier with Jon Moxley. He won well, I guess this is going back to last year. He wins the championship. He's feuding with Orange Cassidy in the Dark Order. Hangman wins the championship, and they essentially have nobody to put him with, so they threw him up against, MJF for a contract, and just to give MJF the contract back, then throw him into something with Kyle Fletcher and Samoa Joe, which the Fletcher stuff, it was a great match. The Joe stuff, the matches were not really crazy good, but the Samoa Joe stuff, although, it was good, and it was good for Samoa Joe winning the world championship, overall kind of just made no sense. They started feuding because he handed him the championship in a way that Samoa Joe didn't like it. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show Tony Khan, in that sense, was a little bit creatively bankrupt. You look at Kyle Fletcher. He won the TNT championship, did nothing. Did absolutely nothing with it. Look what's happening to Mark Briscoe. He won the TNT championship. He's back to conglomerating. You know what I mean? So he has a problem of being great at the chase, and afterwards, the title reign itself massively underwhelms.
Exactly, very massively underwhelms. Speaking of titles for AEW, the next dislike is how many titles they have, and which is too many titles, man. I mean, they have 4 mid-card titles alone. They have the National, International, they have the Continental, and the TNT. Wow. That is 4 mid-card titles. You don't have a secondary world title, but you have 4 mid-card titles, which none of them you really do anything with. For the most part, for all of up until literally 2 weeks ago, Okada held the Continental title, never defended it, never did anything. Apparently, they said on commentary there were 16 title defenses. Genuinely, can only name one, and that's Kenny Omega. Genuinely, I'm not even trying to joke, can only name one title defense. They always have this thing with the TNT title where they have the dude just do tag stuff while TNT champ. They have 2 extra mid-card titles. Now they have women's tag titles they just introduced, which dilutes that. They have a women's mid-card, which is diluted. They have trios titles, which you don't feel like even exist or have a purpose to exist anymore. Just way too many titles to anything to do with. It makes them less meaningless for their divisions, and they don't really know what to do with the lot of them. And that's a big problem, man. It's just a condensed, just pile of titles where there's so many of them, they mean nothing overall, man. They just have too many titles, and that's a Tony Khan problem that he always had, and it got really bad this year.
It did. And speaking of getting really bad this year, was their long/late pay-per-views, man. Their pay-per-views can be so long and so grueling. And they also start at 7 o'clock Central. Why you're not starting your pay-per-views at least 6 o'clock? WWE, that is one thing I've liked about WWE this year. They have started their shows at 5 Central or 6 Central. 7, the time that a normal, pay-per-view or a normal episode of weekly TV starts for weekly television is way too late, in my opinion. And that is one thing I would love to see them switch in 2026. I loved All in Texas, but one of the big thumbs downs from that show that we talked about is the fact that that show was 6 hours. And the worst part is it still came on early. Imagine if that show started at 7 o'clock. We genuinely wouldn't have got done with it until, 1 in the morning? That is diabolical. That is diabolical work, and one thing I would love to see them switch to an earlier time slots in 2026.
Definitely. And last up for the dislikes for AEW is their complacent booking with a very select people. Well, Triple H, I'm so sorry. I'm used to saying that. Tony Khan has this thing where sometimes, the people can just have a flow of booking. You have Hangman, you have Swerve, Death Riders, all of that. But then you have the people where he finds that groove and he doesn't leave that person or group or tag team, whatever. Look at Kenny Omega. That man has been feuding with the Don Callis family since 2023, I think. Literally like a year and a half of just straight feuding with the same entity. Overall, does the same thing every week. He comes in, returns, helps another babyface in an attack of the Don Callis family, gets beat up, leaves, returns a few weeks later. Same thing throughout the entire year. You have the Young Bucks, who they literally went from heel to face, and they're still doing the exact same thing where they're just having matches for money because their characters are broke or whatever, and it's the same story throughout the entire year for the Young Bucks. And that's just a big problem with Tony Khan is sometimes with people, he finds that groove and that's all you are, man. Up until he won the TNT title, but even then, Mark Briscoe was the one where he had a big emotional story, you could say, quote unquote, with somebody where he would get all angry and just lose. And throughout the entire year, he lost and lost and lost. And that's very Tony Khan problem is complacent booking, where for certain people he gets in that groove and he will not leave that groove for anything, man. You got Okada, whose whole thing became, he jokingly called people bitch, and now that's literally all he does, man. And it's a problem where I really hope they could get out of in 2026.
For sure, man. And then for the likes for WWE, if you will.
We start off with the likes of universal like for WWE, man. We have John Cena, man. No matter whether you like the whatever the farewell tour or not, I liked it. He liked it, and I think John Cena. You can no matter what you could say, John Cena did his best throughout the entire year, and that shows through, man. Whether it was the heel run, the face turn, the IC title win, the story with Punk, the stuff with AJ, no matter what it was, John Cena himself gave it his all, had the best ideas in his retirement tour that they did, and just showed out, man. I mean, this was the year of John Cena in WWE. You'll see by our year-end awards, but man, John Cena was just, you talk about a diamond in the rough. He was the glowing diamond in a fucking pile of shit this year, man, and John Cena just did amazing this year.
He was, and one thing that John Cena helped start off with Sami Zayn this year, which was another noticeable like for myself and Sir K, was the United States Open Challenge. Whether it was Sami Zayn's or Ilya Dragunov's, I think I think this was a nice change of pace at WWE. A lot of people's complaint about over the years is, this is so, or over the year is it's such an ad heavy show, and it's all, it's a lot of WWE can feel like smoke and mirrors sometimes, when the US Open was a just nice breath of fresh air, which is something I don't normally like open challenges, probably because Tony Khan does them like every fucking week, but regardless, it was a nice change of pace for something for WWE. It was a nice change of pace for WWE. Just an open challenge and just simply a good wrestling match every week on SmackDown. And a true diamond in the rough for SmackDown as a whole. But I thought, I thought both men, like I said, no matter which version it was, thought they did a tremendous job.
Definitely another like from you. Gave a like from SmackDown. I'm gonna give one from Raw, man. I got the bronze of the Vision, not the Vision entirely, specifically both of the bronze. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, man.
Yeah.
They have been throughout the existence of the Vision and their time on Raw have truly shined through of the show and that group, man. Whether when Seth was in it or not, Paul's been in it the whole time. Other Paul joined the group. And no matter what, throughout the whole group, the bronze, those two feel like genuine homies on and off the screen.
Yes.
And it bleeds through, man. Anything they do, they just hype each other up. They're happy for each other on TV. They're in their corners helping each other with no problem. No weird beef where sometimes, they do the story where you got two people, but those people basically hate each other the whole time. And it isn't one of that, man. These two have been great. They're individually very great and very promising, man. I love Bronson Reed. I love Braun Breaker. They both individually have been good, and their connection and just working together on screen has just been so amazing, dude. And they are truly like the shining part overall this year. Have been the bronze. I've loved them this year.
Absolutely, and one thing I wanted to put, this is more of from a production standpoint, but I appreciated WWE's desire to try for better stages. Now, the past couple years, we've just been used to the LED board that we're always used to seeing. Other than WrestleMania these days, we hardly get cool sets. And, we still don't necessarily get sets, but in terms of the stage itself, I could see WWE trying to make things a little bit cooler. You've seen it with Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final match. They had that cool little, tunnel way with all the boards on it. There was that. There was Crown Jewel, the one that was in the shape of a diamond. Clash in Paris was probably the coolest one for me. SummerSlam, I could see what they tried. It was kind of just lame. I didn't really like that one. But towards the end of the year, I could see them at least try to put a little bit of effort in. And I did appreciate that. Like I said, obviously it was nothing that's really gonna, blow you away with its value of production. But I respected the urgency to try.
Oh, most definitely. I very respect that urgency to try. And speaking of something they're really trying with, and I think really did well with this year, is the way they treat NXT stars and the big feel for a lot of these NXT were is very select NXT stars, man. They did really good this year with making you care about them, making you care about them calling up, and not as scared as I thought I would be for them getting called up, man. You got so many names this year. You got Stephanie Vaquer. You have Julia, which they didn't end up doing great with Julia, but Stephanie, she got signed. She got called up in the span of this year, man. And dude, she's been incredible, man. She's been incredible. You have stuff later this year around the December time of, the showcase of the talent of Javon Evans, Obafemi, Sol Ruka, all names where they did really good in NXT, and you genuinely have faith that their quality is so good that they're gonna be good on the main roster. I have high hopes for Obafemi. I have high hopes for Javon Evans and Sol Ruka, and I actually have some faith that they'll do good this year, which I'll get into it a little bit later, man. But I actually have faith they're going to do good in the next year, man. And you really feel that with a lot of these, or with a select big number of these NXT names, where you actually have faith that they're gonna, that WWE actually sees them as special as the future, and they're not going to take forever to waste away that moment and that momentum.
For sure. And last but certainly not least for the likes is the way they treated in the beginning half of the year the Women's Intercontinental Championship, man. From its inception, Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai on that January 5th, or actually, no, I think they got cut from the first Raw on Netflix show the next week, or in January, when Lyra won the belt. I thought, things were off to a bit of a rocky start for the championship, but it was then the night after WrestleMania, man, when Becky Lynch turned on Lyra Valkyria. I loved the way they treated the Women's IC Championship. So much so, I wish the feud with Becky, or I wish the feud wouldn't have ended with Becky holding on to it, even though I know for a fact Becky Lynch will inevitably one day put over Lyra in a huge match, the same way she did for Bianca Belair. So I'm not tripping on Becky for that at all. But man, the Becky-Lyra feud and what would eventually turn into the Becky-Lyra Bayley feud was fucking phenomenal. And it was probably the best work out of any women's talent in WWE this year as a whole. I loved it, man. I loved it. I thought in terms of storyline and matches, they had the most solid put together work out of the whole year. Mad props to WWE for that little stretch in the summer of what they were able to do to add importance to the Women's IC Championship. Now, ever since that whole feud has ended, it kind of fell down again, but that summer stretch of the Women's IC title involvement was golden, and that is the way you make a championship feel important.
100%, man. 100%. And moving on, I think, yes, moving on to the dislikes for WWE, man. Start of the dislikes, man. Ads. The amount and just presence of ads this year for WWE has been so suffocating for their product, man. I mean, you have all the logos on the ring mat. You have all the logos on the apron. You have literally themed matches around sponsorships. You had the Fireball ladder, and I think Money in the Bank. You had Eric and Ivar dressing up as Clash of Clans characters for their WrestleMania. Yeah, at the WrestleMania match, you had Drew McIntyre dressing up as the Doomslayer from Doom at WrestleMania. You have all throughout the year ad after ad after logo after logo after. It was just suffocating this year, man. Especially going into the year with Raw on Netflix, we really had this idea of less ads due to it being on Netflix, and there's even more ads, and it feels like on cable, at least for me, for the Netflix show on Raw, and it's just horrible, man. I mean, ad city for WWE, and I highly doubt that the problem's going to go away next year.
Probably not. Probably not. And one thing that probably will not go away next year as well as WWE's money hungry approach is a dislike. They, this year more than ever, showed how ridiculously money hungry they are. And obviously, it's obviously okay. You want to make money, you want to make profit. I get that. But to completely get it to a point where your fan it's a constant complaint from your fan base is ridiculous. And one thing that goes along with the money hungry approach, it sort of feels like you want to alienate your fan base, which from a fan base that is very loyal to the sport of professional wrestling, it is very heartbreaking to see. It's very heartbreaking to see that, you know, WWE is taking an approach to pretty much slap all of us in the face that have sat here through the dark days of this company. And it is something, unfortunately, I do not see going away in the year of 2026.
No, I really don't. Another thing that I really don't think is going to go away in 2026 that kind of gets into that money hungry feel is their their celebrity fetish. They're not money hungry feel, but like celebrity momentum status feel where they want to be a part of the spotlight, and that is having celebrities any and everywhere, man. I mean, they're in the crowd. Every city, you'll see the NFL players of that city. You'll see the NBA players of that city. You'll see a singer from that city, this from that city, the fucking mayor of the goddamn city. I mean, I don't think there has been a WWE event live show where they haven't at least once panned to somebody they call a celebrity in the crowd all year, man. And then you get the one step in the ring. They had Jelly Roll do a whole program with Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, and them into SummerSlam. You had Travis Scott literally be a part of John Cena's final WrestleMania for the fact that he's Travis Scott and he's a celebrity, and he was also keyed in on the heel turn for some reason. Just celebrities out the ass this year, man, to where it gets to a point where it feels like you don't even care about the actual wrestlers. You just want celebrities and the big momentum of being a part of the celebrity world, and very, very suffocating throughout the year with that.
100%. And speaking of something that can be a little too suffocating at this point is WWE's amount of stadium shows. We've seen a lot of stadium shows this year. They obviously do their Saudi shows. They do Mania. We obviously see Rumble in a stadium. Elimination Chamber was in a stadium this year. War Games was in a stadium this year. SummerSlam was in a stadium this year. So many stadium shows, and this is a constant problem in WWE where it almost just feels like, with the more stadium shows, it just diminishes the few stadium shows we get that are actually supposed to matter in a stadium. And for WWE, this gives them a very easy out to justify in their minds why it's so nice to overhype a show, is because, oh, it's in a stadium, come out, it's in a stadium, we're going to be packed in a stadium, and they hype it up as this huge show. The fans buy into it because we know usually stadium shows are big deals, and then the show ends up sucking. So this is a constant problem with WWE, one that isn't going to go away, especially with the money-hungry approach. And it's something that, again, it almost just seems like every show is slowly starting to turn into a stadium show. And for the product, and for WWE's way of overhyping things, does no good.
Exactly, and you mentioned overhyping the stadium shows. Or one of their problems and dislikes on this list is overhyping an underwhelming product, man. I mean, all throughout the year, man. You have Triple H tweeting, you have him in the commercials, you have him on showing up before the big shows, coming out there and talking. Every time he goes, "This is a new era. This night is gonna be epic. This night is gonna be special. This night is gonna be this and that." And WrestlePalooza is the next WrestleMania, and this biggest WrestleMania ever. And every time this year, it's underwhelming, man. Every overhyped thing that they talked about, they did, underwhelmed, man. They had The Rock show up, that underwhelmed because he didn't return. They turned Cena heel, and overall, I liked the heel run, but they hyped it up. They didn't have the plan for it, and at the end of the day, they did underwhelm with their planning for it this year, man. I mean, this year was just a complete overhype of the company and the product to where every time they underwhelmed, and every time they underwhelmed, people would get mad, people would complain, criticize whatever, and the company, Triple H, would never take accountability for anything this year, man. I mean, you had that man going on every post-show and media scrum, whatever it is, and saying, the fans don't know what they're talking about. The fans don't know what they want. We got this big grand plan that you guys are too stupid to know. And every time it's revealed they don't have a plan, and every time they do something, they hype themselves up and they don't take accountability for their failures, for their missteps, and they just call fans stupid and act like they're these big masterminds that control everything at all times when they aren't, man.
Yes, and that leads us perfectly into the last dislike for WWE, and that is what I like to call Triple H's "Who asked for this booking?" It's who asked for this. It's safe. It's whatever route he wants to take. It's the classic Triple H. Either it's something we didn't ask for at all, or it's something where it's just Triple H's idea of an epic match because, I put two big stars in the business against each other. We seen it at WrestleMania with Jay and Gunther. We seen it. The match ended up being great, but we've seen it with Punk, Roman, and Seth. It's like, who asked for this? But it's like, it's Triple H playing it safe because, we read all his tweets. These are three of the biggest stars to ever grace the business, and they're all going head to head at WrestleMania. Cody and Cena. Not at Mania, the one at SummerSlam, where, again, it's kind of just like, all right, like, who asked for Cody to be the one to dethrone John Cena again? It just, things like that really piled up and did not play into Triple H's favor at all this year. And it's something where, again, it's just the who asked for this booking. And that is the last dislike for WWE, man. And before we move on to predictions here for the year of 2026, man, we do have an official word from our sponsor here at NHP. We got a word from W Energy, man. W is an energy drink loaded with vitamins and nootropics, formulated to improve focus without getting the jitters, man. W is a clean formula, sugar-free, 0-calorie, free from fillers and artificial colorings, with 150 milligrams of caffeine per serving. You can get your W products today with the link below and code NHP at checkout to save yourselves 10% on your next W purchase.
Truly, always. Gotta shout out W with her workout, whatever you may need the energy for, whether it's New Year's Eve tomorrow or whether it's going into the new year for 2026, man. If you want to go into the year and you want to have the year focused, energized, try W, man. W won't let you down. Like I said, you'll be focused, you'll be energized, you won't have the jitters, and it'll taste good all at the same time. Always, always gotta shout out W.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, as always, to the great people over at W, the official sponsor of what we do here at Notorious Heels, man. All right, Sir K, do you want to start us off with your couple lists of, or your bullet points you got for your predictions, man?
What company are we doing first?
AEW.
AEW, okay. First prediction I have bullet pointed down, man. I think Will Fletcher. I think Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay will both win
That
the AEW World Champion.
That is hilarious. That is a great prediction. I specifically have those two. My first bullet point says Osprey Fletcher world title leaps. So go ahead and explain.
I they are gonna get the world title, whether it's one beating the other or reverse or whatever it may be. I think they're both gonna be AEW world champion at some point this year, facing each other for the title. Whether Will wins the Owen or Kyle wins the Owen, or maybe I also thought maybe Kyle wins that cash-in contract and uses it on Will.
Okay.
Whichever way it might happen. I think no matter what, they'll face each other for the AEW World Title, and they will both be AEW World Champion, back to back. Whoever beats who first, in the year 2026. I very much think so.
Completely agree with you there. That's my first bullet point as well. Those guys, man, Osprey and Fletcher have a very Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens fight forever vibe behind them.
They do. They do. They really do, man. Am I getting into my next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my next one's more of a general prediction for the product overall in 2026. But overall, going into 2026, I predict that the product will be very similar to what we got this year. I think TV will remain to be overall pretty weak, while the pay-per-views are going to be pretty good overall in the year of 2026. I just feel going into 2026, creatively, it's going to be overall very similar to this year. I don't expect a great leap in creative, and I don't expect a great decrease in creative quality. I think it's going to be very similar to this year in steadability with weekly TV, but good pay-per-views. I don't think they're going to do amazing next year, but I don't predict them being bad next year.
Well, I think this guy Sir K has got the spoilers because my next bullet point says things keep fairly the same in AEW. What I predicted pretty much is what you see now is kind of what you're going to get. I don't really think they're going to have another 2023 level of bad year. But I do predict, again, what you see is what you get. I think we're going to continue to get horrible fucking television and great pay-per-views.
Exactly, which is very funny, guys. One thing we did not discuss together was our predictions.
Literally.
And they're literally the same so far, which is hilarious. My next prediction, what will happen in AEW in the next year, is we'll talk about it with the news on Friday a little bit, but there's rumblings that they want Kenny Omega to have a world title picture run, whatever, in 2026. I predict they're going to try it. And I predict it's not going to work out, man. I think that's when they're going to learn. I think in 2026, they are going to learn by just throwing him, sink or swim, that Kenny Omega just isn't physically there anymore. And I think they're going to try to feel like there's even going to be a part-time retirement at some point in 2026 for Kenny Omega. It's kind of similar to what Brian does. No way. No way. Dog, no way, bro.
Okay, my next bullet point says Kenny takes a major step back. I think this year they are going to see that Kenny Omega physically is not able anymore, and I think he is going to have to, pretty much go into the Brian retirement.
Yep.
That is so fucking funny, dude. I swear to you guys, this is literally predictions is the one thing, just for the sake of conversation, that we took on separately. And these are damn near literally all the same. But go ahead with your next one.
My next one, man. Speaking of Bryan Danielson, I think
fuck out of here.
he's gonna have his return to the ring within the Death Rider story.
Okay,
an overall prediction for the Death Rider story. Obviously, I still think they are going to turn on Mox. I think Mox is going to join the babyface side against the Death Riders. I think Mox Darby Bryan is all going to face against Death Riders in their story in 2026. And I can't believe, I'm guessing the fact that you're laughing, you have that down too.
My next bullet point is Bryan Danielson returns to the ring. I didn't say anything specifically about the Death Rider, so that's where ours does differentiate. But when you said Bryan, I'm like, there's no fucking way. I think we see Bryan return to the ring, and I do think it is largely matching what Sir K says. I think his introduction back will be because of the Death Riders. But yeah, that is my next prediction for AEW as well. I think we see Bryan Danielson return to the ring.
It's fucking hilarious, man. My next prediction, it's one of those more broad predictions, more about like a division in its entirely.
Okay.
And it's about the mid-card title scene, man. I think it's going to basically remain the same that it was this year. Kind of like I said with the similar to this year booking. But man, I just feel like they're going to keep all these titles. I doubt they're going to... I think the international and the national have a chance to be combined, but overall, they're going to keep the Continental, they're going to keep the TNT, and they're going to keep, if not both, at least one of those titles. And I think the mid-card scene will remain the same it was this year, where you got your people that you really want to see, but they never really do anything. And anytime someone has a reign, they never really do anything with the mid-card titles, man. So overall, going in 2026, unfortunately, I think the mid-card scene is going to remain pretty useless and meaningless like it is now.
Okay, well, I wanted to put some bold predictions out there. And this one is one that many may not see the vision for right now, but this is a bold prediction of mine. Tried to be a little controversial here, try to ruffle some feathers here. I have a prediction that the Death Riders story will be fumbled after Jon Moxley. So I think they will turn on Moxley, have the feud with Moxley, and that is going to be one thing. I also have another prediction that the Death Riders will get a new leader, which obviously is obvious, but a new leader that's not in the group currently. I know a lot of people think maybe Claudio, maybe Marino. We've discussed that. I have a feeling it will be somebody completely different. I feel like they will bring somebody into the group to be the new leader of the Death Riders. Me and Sir K have thrown the idea of Switchblade Jay White around a little bit. I think it could be somebody like that. However, they will feud with Moxley. But I feel after that, the story is going to take an approach where the Death Riders do become one of those AEW groups that is largely forgotten about. And I think the reason there is so much care into it now is because Tony Khan loves Jon Moxley and he respects Jon Moxley. But other than that, I am predicting by the end of the year, we get a Death Rider story being fumbled after the Moxley breakup and Moxley feud.
I actually completely believe you. I don't think that's that bold of a claim. To be honest, I completely believe it.
Okay.
Triple H. God damn it, I did it again. Tony Khan is great at fumbling stuff after the story is done, whether it's groups, titles, people, whatever. I believe that completely. But at least for my last bullet point, it's not gonna unfortunately be a very bold thing. I think it's gonna be a very obvious prediction. Mercedes is gonna win that AEW Women's World title in 2026. I think she's gonna lose all her other related titles first, even the TBS, but then she's gonna have a story where I'm gonna say she's babyface while she does it and wins the AEW World title, Women's World title.
Okay, well, real quick before we move over to WWE's, I forgot to do this before we started, but I wanted to discuss my predictions I had for both companies for last year and how wrong I was for a lot of these. So, my first prediction I had, and you could watch it last year, but my first bullet point I had was Darby and Will win the World Championship in 2025, which was wrong.
Neither.
Way wrong. We got close, but way wrong. The next one I was kind of right. The Death Rider story murdered, I put. Which for the first half of the year I was right. They murdered the shit out of it, but then they fucking performed CPR and brought it back to life. So I was wrong again.
Very funny.
The next one is Tony Khan becoming worse than ever, which he actually got better.
Yeah, he got media trained. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. The next one I have is more major stories fumbled. And I put Tony, etc. Tony, I wouldn't really say was fumbled, actually. So I was wrong.
No.
And their major stories, again, kind of picked up. Now, the one I was right on was the Elite's return making no sense, which I'm assuming I meant the return of Kenny, which made no sense to bring him back because he's fucking partly injured. And the Young Bucks return absolutely did make no sense as well. So that I was right about. And before we move to WWE, I was right on some of these. Actually more right than wrong. The AEW ones were more baffling, where I was I was more like slap in the face wrong. The first one, who could have predicted this, right? I predicted this as the easiest win. John Cena wins his 17th World Championship.
Very happy that one was right.
I was right about that. Next one is wrong. Drew McIntyre wins King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Boy, we would have been on here laughing if I wrote down Drew McIntyre gets buried. I would have been like, dude, I'm wrong 100%. I know I'm going to be wrong. To think if I would have wrote that down, I would have been right is wild. I predicted this man winning King of the Ring.
It's wild.
The next one is also true. Bronson Reed has his best run yet. I don't know where I got that from, but
oh wow,
I was right. I was fucking right.
Goddamn.
I know. I know.
The
next one I was also right. Kind of. Obafemi stuck in NXT until 2026. I was technically correct. He's technically not fully called up yet. And the last one I got way wrong, and okay, I can't blame myself for being wrong on this one, but way wrong. Big E makes his return to the ring.
Damn. Nothing.
Wrong. Fucking wrong. So yeah, way wrong on that one, but those are my predictions for both companies. So, Kay, do you want to go ahead and start us off for your 2026 predictions for WWE?
2026 predictions. Obviously, Seth is going to return within the year, man. Very obviously. But I think when he comes back, I think it's going to reveal that Theory was a spy for him the whole time, and he's going to join forces with Seth. And I think CM Punk join forces with Seth Rollins, and I think they're going to do basically a copycat Swerve and Hangman story with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, where they became mutual respect allies.
All right, my first bullet point I have is Roman Reigns wins another world championship in the year of 2026. I think Roman Reigns, whether, God, it better not be fucking Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, but whether it's Cody Rhodes in the WWE Championship or CM Punk in the World Heavyweight Championship, or not even the guys, but just the titles themselves, I think he will get his hands on a world championship in 2026.
Speaking of Cody Rhodes, actually, my next bullet point is I think Cody is going to continue to tease this heel version of himself, all this, all that, all the story of that. I don't think it's going to happen within the year. I think they're going to do a whole lot of teasing for something that doesn't fucking happen with Cody.
Next, I have, again, try to be a little bold here, maybe this isn't so bold.
Okay.
The Rock is going to start making small appearances towards the end of the year to lead into his match for a world title against Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia, WrestleMania 2027. It is a prediction at this point I don't want to see, but I really have a feeling The Rock is going to come back for his match that he did not get in 2024, and I think he's still salty about that and still wants it. And I think the year that they do the Saudi Mania, he will get it, but I feel like we will start seeing small appearances from him towards the end of the year to build towards his dream match against his cousin.
Very, very believable. At least for me, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But my next one on this list, man, it pertains to WrestleMania, and I predict another very lackluster
Ooh, that's a good one.
WrestleMania and WrestleMania build for this year for WrestleMania 42. I think they're gonna continue to overhype it and just hype it up as this big great things happen twice, whatever the fuck. And I think it's gonna suck, dude. I feel like they're gonna do a weird Royal Rumble. Somebody, whether it's men or women, someone weird is gonna win it. They're gonna do Cody and Roman probably. I expect a very lackluster WrestleMania and build for WrestleMania this year.
So, my next bullet point is Triple H does not get his act together. Now, in quotations, I put kind of. I put kind of because I don't think he's going to get his act together in terms of I think TV is still going to largely suck. The reason I put kind of, I also put in quotations Tony Khan tactics. I think his idea of trying to book good is going to be either returning people for a cheap pop, calling people up for the cheap pop, and I put kind of because I feel like he's going to understand that his shit is so bad that he's going to kind of listen to the fans, but I feel like he's only going to listen in like the main event upper scene of things and then still just not give a shit about anything else surrounding him. So largely, I feel like he will not get his act together.
They understand that. My next bullet point does pertain to overall booking of the company. I think in 2026 they're going to continue to do this new kayfabe where they kind of rely on WWE and Real and the dirt sheets to have like this exposed deal that they tried to do this year. I think they're really going to lean into it next year, and I think it's going to collapse in on itself at some point, but I think they're going to continue to do this new kayfabe they found this year into 2026 and really rely on that, whether it's The Rock later in the year or Roman and Cody and all that. I think they're going to overdo it with that.
Okay. Well, I got next Braun Breaker wins a world championship in 2026.
Expecting.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen on January 5th. I could maybe see this happening at Mania or SummerSlam at some point in the year. I think we will see WWE finally cash in their investment and all the time they spent on Braun Breaker. I also think with Seth Rollins' recent comments on an interview where he said something along the lines of, you know, I'm not coming back for a specific person. I'm coming back for my World Heavyweight Championship. By the time Seth Rollins comes back, which is what kind of makes me think Mania, by the time Rollins comes back, I think Braun Breaker will be the World Heavyweight Champion.
Very understandable. Speaking of younger talent, my next bullet point, man, I think WWE will actually move I usually expect them to with Javon Evans and Oba Femi. I don't know if that means a world title for Oba or, you know, probably a mid-card title for Javon to start, but I think overall they're going to move faster with those two specifically than they normally do with a lot of these younger people.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to throw them the bone in 2026, and I'm going to predict they actually like kind of hit the gas with those two specifically in 2026.
Okay. Speaking of all gas, speaking of hitting gas, we have all gas, no brakes. I have a prediction that Jacob Fatu is going to be your 2026 King of the Ring.
Okay.
And the
Okay, I
reason
like that.
the reason I say that is because I think by the time we get to SummerSlam, Jacob Fatu is going to have to choose between Roman Reigns or Braun Breaker to challenge for their world heavyweight or their world championship, which at this juncture, because we obviously won't get it at Mania next year, because I feel like Mania 2027, because I feel like 2027 Mania will be Rock Roman. I feel like we get Roman Fatu at SummerSlam in 2026, which actually I'm going to just quick add one that I will say later that I just thought of just now. But yes, I do predict Jacob Fatu is going to be your 2026 King of the Ring winner. I predicted Drew McIntyre for this year, so I figured to keep the tradition, I'll go ahead and early predict a King of the Ring winner this year, and I'm going to go ahead and say Fatu.
I like that. I respect that. My next bullet point, man, I think WWE is going to overdo it with the retirements for these super man, whether Brock Lesnar, whether it's AJ Styles. I think AJ has the best chance of making it as low key as possible. They won't do it with Brock. They're going to overdo it with Brock. And specifically for Jericho, I think Jericho is going to make one of his ironic gimmicks around the retirement old guy thing as like one of his ironic gimmicks that he does. I think he's going to do that with the retirement stuff when he returns to the company in 2026.
Yes, sir. Now this one, again, I'm trying to be bold. I'm trying to throw things up in the air at this point. This one is going to seem like I want to be wrong at this point. We hear a lot about these singles pushes that Triple H is going to do. We hear a lot about Finn Balor and LA Knight and Lyra and Roxanne and all these other people that Triple H is finally going to hit the gas on a singles push for. I'm predicting that Triple H will follow through. Now, that doesn't mean succeed at all. It doesn't mean succeed. I'm predicting that Triple H will attempt to follow through on a lot of these singles pushes we've been hearing about. Now, again, that's not to say he doesn't fail it. But I have a prediction. He's going to follow through on some of them.
I have a hope so, man. I hope so. Next bullet point prediction, man. I predict, obviously, I think there's going to be a very, obvious classic mass release in year 2026, but I think at some point within the next year, there is going to be a decently sized big name that leaves the company, whether via release or via leaving, contract ends, whatever, or, obviously planning on it. And if I'm going to bet, I think it's going to be LA Knight. I think he's going to either project to leave the company in 2026 or leave the company in 2026.
Okay.
Big bold one. I had to do a bold one.
Okay. Hey, we keep them coming. We love them. We love them. I love that. That is a very interesting prediction, man. Okay. The next one I have is, I know I wrote down more than 5 because I started getting I started getting a little trigger happy with my predictions here. I have a prediction that Oba Femi will win a mid-card championship, as to where WWE takes a bit longer with somebody like Javon Evans. I feel like Oba is going to be the guy that they want to push as a dominant character on the show. And I feel like they're going to stall with Javon Evans for some reason. I feel like they're going to have him kind of how they did Braun Breaker in the start, where he's kind of just, I feel like Oba will maybe be a little bit more like Braun, because Braun was quicker in terms of getting championships put on him. I feel like they're going to go the LA Knight route with Javon Evans a little bit and stall on him very hard. And I feel like it's going to be one of the most frustrating parts of the year. But that is my prediction, and I think Obafemi is going to be a mid-card champion, whether it's Intercontinental. I feel like it'll be Intercontinental for some reason, even though he's going to SmackDown. I feel like he will get his hands on a mid-card championship in the year of 2026. Did you have any more? Or can I give my... Okay, I have one more too. Okay.
Okay, I have one more. Not much of a bold one. I actually, retrospect, I wish I did a little more bold ones. But very more least faithful one, man. I think in 2026, man, the women of WWE are going to be the most reliable thing on television, whether it's stories, matches. I think whether it's going to be AJ and Becky, whether I could even see, I think AJ and Bayley are going to have a big program in 2026.
Okay.
Lyra, I think, is going to do good in the year. I actually think they're going to do good with Lyra going into 2026, whether it's Rhea and Io, the return of, Bianca when that happens. I think in 2026, the women on TV are going to be the most reliable with their story quality, all that.
Well, I definitely think you should give yourself a little more credit, because that is very bold, considering the women did nothing in 2025. Largely nothing outside of that women's IC title scene. So that is a great prediction. And for my last one, I am predicting.
Very excited. Okay.
I just thought of this as soon as I was reading off the Fatu King of the Ring one. I am predicting that Mr. Money in the Bank for 2026, I feel like WWE is finally going to have... Now, I can't say he's going to make the leap, because he could very well cash it in 2027. I have a feeling they are going to put Money in the Bank on Dominic Mysterio in 2026. I don't know how bold that is, but I feel like they are finally... People have been asking for it for years. Dominic would be a great Money in the Bank. You hear it all the time. I feel like WWE, like I said, maybe he doesn't make the world title leap, because again, he could always cash it in 27. But I feel like Dom is going to carry the briefcase in 2026 and maybe into 2027. Shall they have him keep the briefcase that long?
Most definitely can see that, or I can believe that prediction, most definitely. One, I have to go back and adjust one prediction with someone leaving the company. I think it's going to be either LA Knight or Drew McIntyre. I forgot his name. I think either him or Drew McIntyre projects to leave the company in 2026.
Okay. Well, I have all these written down and saved in a Google Docs, so
Same for next year.
We will read these off next year and see how correct we are. Those are my predictions. Those are Sir K's predictions for the 2026 year of WWE and AEW predictions, man, as we got some good ones, and there's some very bold predictions, man. We could very well be shooting ourselves in the foot with some of these and get these way wrong. But they sound like they make sense now, so that's the whole point of this whole thing. So, yeah, with that, this has been your 2025 Rewind and 2026 predictions for NHP, man, as this is the final episode of Unscripted for the year. Unscripted, this is, we're going to end the year at episode 280, and man, that is going to do it. And thank you guys so very much for joining us here today for another edition of NHP Unscripted. Again, we will be live the very first day of the year, January 1st. We will be live with the WWE 2K25 edition of Notorious Heels Gaming. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been truly truly an awesome year for NHP. This has been amazing. So I want to thank you guys for your continued support of the channel. I want to thank you guys for your continued support of everything that we put on here, man. And man, again, we would not be able to do it without you guys. We really would not be able to. So again, we utmost gratitude for another amazing year, and I'm excited to keep it going in 2026. I'm very excited to keep it going in 2026, man, and keep the growth going, and keep hoping to deliver you guys the very best that we absolutely can, man. So yeah, that is everything, and that wraps up NHP for 2025, man. Again, thank you guys so much. It's been an amazing ride this year.
Really has been an amazing ride this year. 2025 was great for NHP, man. From you guys joining to new people joining to you guys talking with us to, being on for the reviews, for Unscripted, for the news. Truly, thank you guys for this great year of NHP.
Absolutely, man. And with that being said, this has been episode 280, the WWE and AEW 2025 Rewind and 2026 predictions heading into 2026. Hopefully, everything goes good, but we will see. And with that being said, thank you guys so very much for joining us. And with that, again, please, everybody, have a happy New Year's Eve. Have a happy New Year, and we will see you guys on New Year's Day. With that, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you all in 2 days on Thursday, 2 p.m. Central, for another edition of Notorious Heels Gaming.
Peace.